Number 75, offensive lineman from Lincoln, Chris Curtis. Number 76, offensive lineman, Mira Mesa, Ethan Nelson. Number 77, defensive lineman from Hilltop, Michael McShane. Number 80, wide receiver from Helix, Timothy Christopher. Number 81, defensive back from Foothills Christian, Tony Toros. Number 85, wide receiver and defensive back from Script Ranch, Makai Shaw. And the head coach is Mr. Charles James. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, to honor our great nation, please rise and remove your caps.
We're live now.
We're going to have the playing of our national anthem. Thank you.
Your antenna needs to be right on me, and you're at your limit right now. Here
I am with Joe Buck.
We're almost there.
Are we good now? Do we know?
Roger that. Let me know when you guys are ready.
Yep, we there. We good.
Right now, we're on Connor. We're gonna go to the boot camp. You guys need to turn around and get your mic ready.
No, we're going to start on this camera?
Go ahead and start. I thought so, but if you want to start.
Yeah, that was just pregame. Might as well just start on the field at this point.
You're live.
14, 72, 2 and 31.
Our captains for the South are Sam Sky,
Skaith.
Yoshan Trailer,
We're live.
Carson Field.
Hello and welcome to Mesa College. It is the 30th annual Spanos Classic.
Alex Spanos, classic.
Alex Spanos Classic.
Not to be confused with Dean Spanos,
of
classic.
course. 30th annual.
Mm-hmm.
Top seniors in San Diego County battling it out for bragging rights. North versus South. I'm Bo Fertig alongside Bert Grossman bringing you today's action, at least for the first quarter. Bert?
Yes.
How difficult is it to play and coach in this All-Star game?
You know what? It's hard for, well, as far as a player, they have fun. I mean, they don't really have anything on the line except bragging rights. I played one many black and white TV years ago in Pennsylvania. So we always had a great time. The problem with the coaches is to get the players to be serious and take it seriously. And that was always the issue. I think it still is to this day, is for them to take it serious and not take it as a vacation.
So captains at midfield for the South team. Samuel Scaife of St. Augustine, Carson Field from El Cap, and on the other side for the North squad, David Flores of Vista and Johnny Vega of San Pasqual. Talking to both coaches before the game, Coach James really using his system, his running style that he used at San Diego High, along with Tracy McNair of Morris, both of those programs known for their running style. So they're going to pack the offense with big running backs like Xavier Watson and utilize that on the other side for Sova Cool. 3 quarterbacks, a couple pocket passers. Jungman is a running quarterback. He said we gave them a package to work with. So that's always interesting. Both coaches using different tactics in this game.
It is. You know what? And you bring that up about the other coaches. Tracy McNair is there. I think David Dunn's on the sideline. This is the first time I've seen, because it's usually the one staff and he brings his assistants with him. But this year, and leave it up to Coach James to do this, I really like the idea of taking almost like an all-star coaching staff also with you. That's going to be the most interesting part, because coaches come from different systems, and you try to put one in, and you're always not on the same page. I don't know if that's going to work, but I think the South has the best defense and definitely the best linebackers out here. I think they're going to be the difference.
Well, the nice thing for the North All-Stars, Coach Sovakul of LCC has his starting quarterback, Marshall Eicher, who's going to start the game for him today. He just knows the system. He said he could be 3 and out. Who knows? I highly doubt that. I'm sure he'll give him some playing time, allow the scouts to check him out, give him a good look. But they'll be able to start the game off with the quarterback with some knowledge of what the system is.
And that's great, but the problem is the other 11 guys have no knowledge of it. Right. So, I mean, you think you'd have the timing down from the entire year. They had a great year. He had a great year. But, again, you have 10 other guys that have not been in that system, and this is all new to them. And then really all you have during the week is practice. And like I said earlier, a lot of the practice is joking around, and people don't take it serious. And they take this as a fun game, which it should be. Coaches take it as a serious game.
We are live from Mesa College. Currently audio, no picture available. We are getting on that. This is the South squad on the kickoff return as they bring it up to the 25, and they will start at the 24 to start their first offensive possession.
Chance Johnson and Xavier Watson. I think that's enough right there for the South.
So
I think we're going to see a lot of them
right
off the bat.
Talking to Coach, obviously Xavier Watson, the pound and ground type of running back. You could feed him 20 times and he'll just get stronger as the game goes on. And Chance Johnson, we heard a lot of scat back, kind of sweet.
Yeah, he can play anywhere, yeah. This will be interesting. I don't think, and you know, like you said, historically, this staff is a run staff, all 4 of them, the head coaches. So it should be a lot of running today.
Watson in the hip pocket, and he'll get the first touch of the game. Bullies forward for a couple yards. And the first play of the game goes to a guy we know.
Xavier Watson.
Watson from Cathedral Catholic. I mean, you knew him as a sophomore. He was going to be a guy just walking by him on the field. He could play any position, but because his feet are so nimble, he works well as a running back.
And the amazing thing about him is he's much better at baseball. And if you ask him, he'll say the same thing. That's his sport. I mean, imagine how good he is at baseball.
And we have our first flag of the game.
Legal motion. Offense. The South. Going backwards. See, that's what I'm talking about. You get the kids are just sloppy because they don't, again, it's fun for them. Coaches literally go crazy on the sideline because it's all business to them no matter what. Bragging rights, but the kids are just out here to have fun.
So we knock them back 5, brings up a 2nd and 10. Watson once again, and the defense of the North was ready for that, stuffing him in the backfield for a tackle for loss.
We might have a 3 and out right away to start with. We're all expecting like Pro Bowl type stuff where it's 80 to 80 or 90 to 90.
I was just going to say, in a game of this nature, you would think that the defense has the advantage.
They do, because of the time of the offense, and they'll never get it going. I mean, the offense is always going to be in all-star games, the individual talents, where the defense is a unit. Again, you would expect it to be like the Pro Bowl where it's 90 to 90 and people are taking selfies and exchanging jerseys, but at the high school level, the defense is pretty much dominant.
This is Chris Davila of Lincoln. Looks left, throws a corner route near midfield, but just out the stretch of a diving receiver, and the South side will go 3 and out.
And this will be interesting now. We will see if the system quarterback can do the system without the rest of the system.
Davila, a backup quarterback at Lincoln. Davila at Lincoln came in and out with Jensen, was utilized more for his running than his throwing, but not a bad ball on that last attempt.
What'd you think about the extra donation the Chargers threw on top of the 16,000? They threw another 5 additional on top. That's pretty good.
You know a little bit more than I do about that.
That was kind of a surprise. I didn't know that. Well, they've been sponsoring this game for, like you said, 30 years now. A lot of people thought when they went to LA they would stop the sponsorship, stop supporting it. But this is one of the, actually probably the only thing in the community that they kept and they continually support.
And the North will get their first crack at it on offense near midfield.
Short punt.
Quentin Hadnot of Mission Hills scooped it up, but the South squad right there to wrap him up at the 48.
This is the other interesting part is the North has Zeke Mata, who can pretty much hit a field goal from like 90 yards in. It's almost like arena football with him. So you have a weapon right here. They're literally 10 yards away from his attempt range.
He said his career high in the game was a 53-yarder.
I was at that game, Oceanside, Mission Hills, this year. And it would have been good from 60. So he's already getting into range right now. Whether the coaches let him do a long one like that, that's a different story.
And you'll see a lot of Vista in the backfield today. Both their running backs, David Flores, a 6 foot, 240-pound running back, talking to Coach Savakul before the game. He said, I'm 240. There's no way Flores is 240. He's a beast, not a guy he'd like to tackle. And that means a lot coming from a guy who played linebacker.
Yeah, and he's a low to the ground 240 that runs hard. And see, they're already coming up to first down range. I had picked the South to win this by a good margin.
Okay. Well,
just so you know, and I've never been right.
Strength,
30 years and 29, I haven't been right.
We know the strength of the South is their defense. Their linebacking core is one of the best. They have multiple guys with
John Carroll.
Yeah, John Carroll, the CIF Defensive Player of the Year.
Deshaun Taylor and Max Susi. That's probably the 3 best linebackers in the county in my mind.
Well, and you have DeAndre Patterson 4 as well, who had 123 tackles on the season from Lincoln.
Yeah, so they pretty much have the best linebacking core and the best linebackers.
Another guy, Cameron Ure, as well, from Steel Canyon. They had one of the best defenses in the county. And a QB sneak with the 6'5" quarterback of Marshall Eichert. And they'll get the first down of the game.
Keeper by the quarterback.
With just under 9 minutes remaining here in this first quarter.
This is interesting. We thought they'd open this up and do a little throwing here, but they've been running the ball too. There hasn't been much throwing going on.
Well, Coach Sovakul knows he has big backs in the backfield, and he's utilizing them.
He's not used to that, though. He's under pretty good control right now.
It's a toss left. Looks like Flores again tries to get to the outside, but the South defense there ready for it. Excuse me, that was Kel Patterson of Orange Glen, his first touch of the game.
It's hard for coaches. I mean, what they do, and, LCC likes to throw and run, but you as a coach, I mean, you go through the whole season, you have certain talent, and you utilize that talent, and you come here and you have it all over the place. It's hard to stay not doing what you do and spread it out a little bit. So he's running now, like you say, because he has the big backs, but it's pretty good control to be able to do that after an entire season of getting in the mode of doing what you want to do or what you have.
Kel Patterson from Orange Glen had over 3,000 all-purpose yards, over 2,600 rushing yards on the season.
We have a penalty, though.
And it looks
taking it back.
Looks like I didn't catch the call, but it looked like it was a holding penalty, bringing it back 10 yards. Trying to get to the edge. Max Susi from Eastlake with the open field tackle. And Patterson to the left hip, or the right hip of Eichert. Oh, that's not
trick
Eichert.
play
Actually,
there.
that's Osuna from Central as he throws the out pattern. Unable to connect with his receiver on the outside. So we went with Eichert to start the first 3 plays and brought in Osuna. And then it looks like Eichert will come back in.
And there's no chemistry between quarterback and receivers here. I mean, if you're a quarterback, you see your guy 10, 11 weeks, not counting camp. You know exactly where he's going to be on that route. You get a new guy that you've never played with. You don't know where he's going to be, and you put it in the same spot it always is, and that would be a reception during a regular season game. But that's the problem throwing in all-star games.
And the incomplete pass will bring up a 2nd and 20. Marshall Eichert back in the game for the North squad. David Flores and both Desmond Ta'ua, both Vista backs.
This is a pass, Bo.
2nd and 20. Marshall drops back, looks for the screen,
and it's picked
and
off.
lobs it, and it is intercepted by Max Susi of Eastlake. Read that one well, and our first turnover goes towards the South squad.
Again, that timing, an all-star. That is, I mean, that's a bubble screen. That is total timing route. It's a hard thing to run. I mean, during the season, let alone an all-star season where you don't know where anybody's at.
Susie and his teammate from Eastlake had one of the best plays of the year, falling out of bounds and throwing it back in. That was him and Matthew Zaravia. They both played volleyball together, and they said that was a combination that seemed to work really well because of their experience together on the court.
I had those two in youth football. I've been watching them play since 2nd, 3rd grade.
And we have our second false start by the South squad. And it looks like
Illegal procedure penalty.
it will bring up a 1st and 15.
Ball to South 45.
A lot of penalties early on, Bo.
I was talking to Coach Sovacool, and he said a lot of this feels like a first game of the season type of vibe.
Yeah.
Filling each other out. You're not really used to playing with your teammates. And obviously the talent on the other side, you want to get to that position first.
And even worse, because they don't get scrimmages, they don't get 2 weeks of camp together, they don't get spring ball together. I mean, when you go into a first game in high school football, you still have all of spring, you had passing league, you had 2 weeks of camp, you probably had a couple scrimmages. These guys have been 4 practices pretty much, not in pads or anything because nobody wants to get hurt. So you can imagine what it's going to look like in the first couple quarters, maybe even the whole game.
Isaiah Garner gets his first touch of the game for 6 yards, brings up a 2nd and 9 with 7:40 and counting here in the first quarter. South gets on the other side of the 50 for the first time today. This is only their second possession. This is off the turnover from Max Susie with the interception.
So, Bo, is this going to be a new thing? Are you going to do Stream Live Game of the Week, maybe Holy Bowl, a couple other ones, playoffs?
The county would only be so lucky if that was the case. Davila from Lincoln rolls right, looks downfield, but nothing there. Great pressure on the outside by the North squad.
The pass blocking has not been good by either side so far. A lot of pressure off the edges. And I believe you're not allowed to blitz A-B gaps here.
For the All-Star game.
Yeah, you can come off the corner, I believe, but these are just the ends getting pressure off the corner.
We do have a late flag after the incomplete pass. There hasn't been no call made yet from the Whitecap. And we will get it now. Intentional grounding outside of the pocket.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that in high school.
In what league
All-Star
is
game.
that? In an All-Star game.
Yeah, but again, we're 6 minutes in, and we've probably had 6-7 penalties already. And again, it dictates that they just haven't been together.
I mean, we're talking 3rd and somewhat manageable, 3rd and 9, and now we're talking 3rd and 20.
Which is the way it should be, because All-Star games should just be airing it out. None of us get a first down. I mean, it should be deep to me.
We got spread formation. A quick bubble screen to the outside, but that North defense on it, they saw it coming the whole way with that quick bubble screen.
We're getting a lot of defensive football today, Bo. I think this is going to come down to Zeke Mata again. It's going to hit a 61-yarder to win it 3-0.
Kyle Simpson on that reception. Great open field tackle on the outside. 6:40 and counting.
4th down for the South.
And
We
that
got
will
another
bring
punt.
up a 4th long. South did pick up their first down, but
And gave it back
unfortunately,
away on penalties.
and that will, no matter at any level, penalties will kill you.
Oh.
North squad on the punt return brings it up to the 37, and that's where they will start their second offensive possession of the game with 6:27 in the first.
I think he's going to take a shot deep here. What do you think?
You know, on a first down, after running the ball 3 times in a row on their first possession, I think a play action, get them sucked up, go long. I don't think that's a bad idea.
I think get a little spark in this game. I think he's going deep right here, which means he'll probably just run.
Well, it depends on the
Power.
quarterback, because that looks like number 8, number 8, Trevor Jungman of San Pasquale, who's no more for his running than his passing, but he can throw the ball deep if he needs to, and fakes the handoff up the gut and finds a lane, gets to the 35, and that will be a 27-yard gain, the biggest play of the game.
That was interesting. An interesting call. If I had Uncle Rico under there, he would have went long for it.
Youngman A dual threat quarterback from San Pasquale gets the biggest play of the game here in the first quarter with just over 6 minutes remaining. And they are in striking distance of Mata.
Oh, yes, they are.
At the 35. This one up the gut.
And nowhere. Swarmed by the linebackers.
Tackled at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, these South linebackers are, I think, the best I've seen in this game as a group.
You know, we're talking Patterson, Carroll, Leo Modi, who Coach Charles James talked about as a guy who really stood out to him. Cameron Ewert, all these guys over 200 pounds, more than 100 tackles on the season.
And if you look at Max Susi, he's the thinnest one. He's tall and thin, but that kid hits like I don't think anybody's seen the count. And he's always been that way, even youth football. Came up with an interception earlier, a big tackle in the backfield.
Marshall Eicher back in the game from LCC. And both Vista running backs in the backfield. This is Desmond Ta'ua. Finds a lane, gets past the first down marker. And it seems like the North have found the running lanes on the right side of that line here in the first quarter.
It has. One, and then, they stuffed it and then went right back to it again. But, again, we're in Zeke Mata range right now. And this might come down to just field goals because the offenses aren't really clicking, with the exception of this drive.
Ta'ua and Flores in the backfield. Marshall Eicher.
I was wondering, we went like 4 minutes without a penalty. I was getting nervous.
And we have a timeout.
And some substitutions.
And some substitutions as well.
You want to bring Brandon in now, your special guest?
Let's go ahead.
I am on the committee, so I have to go do handshaking and clean up and, pick up trash pretty much.
Thank you, Bert. Appreciate your time.
I want to give it to the great Brandon Stone right now.
We bring in city correspondent, reporter, KUSI weekday anchor, Brandon
Greetings.
Stone, one of my favorite personalities in San Diego.
If I'm one of your favorite personalities, you need to watch more television.
Brandon Stone, happy holidays. How's the off-season treating you?
Off-season, Bo, I don't know what that is.
I knew it.
But I do love this broadcast, and let it be known to the people that are watching the stream. Last time I checked, there are about 84 of them or so. Let it be known that this is not the first time you and I have teamed together on a project. Bo, you and I have known each other for about a decade now, and the fact that I'm sitting here on a broadcast that you're leading is mesmerizing.
Right?
And let me just say to all the viewers how proud I am of this man coming from where he was to where he is now. It's pretty amazing. So I'm really happy to be here.
We started this
and support.
We started this 10 years ago. I was your protege, you leading the way.
And now you're pretty much better than me, so I'm going to go here and try to do a mediocre version of what you're doing right now and do the best I can to help. Let me start with my analysis of the game so far, which is at an all-star game where you're trying to know each other, the best thing to do is to run the offenses the teams know. You've got an offensive line for the North that knows how to run block, work the wing T and such, and that's exactly what they're doing now. But it looks like they've changed for some reason and put back in Eicher. Let's see what happens.
Eicher hands the ball off up the gut. It looks like Vista running back Desmond Ta'ua. Patterson, that is.
I like Patterson a lot. You've talked about the yards that he's gained. I had a chance to see him in our city game of the week when we had Santa Fe Christian facing Orange Glen. And he was shut down mainly for the first 3 quarters, then came back, caught 3 passes, and then caught the final touchdown to win the game in the last second. So we've seen some pretty great work from him.
Patterson, a guy that's really top 5 in all major categories, touchdowns, scoring, rushing yards, all-purpose yards in the state of California. So a guy that you like to get to the outside.
Certainly.
This is
comes Osuna trying to find some space.
Osuna from Central rolls right, has a receiver in the end zone, but incomplete.
Beautiful knockdown there.
Osuna out of Central, taking the Spartans to back-to-back D3 championships. They didn't win, but that says a lot about a team coming from the desert.
It's a vastly underrated player, and we have 2 guys on this team. And what needs to be said about the folks from Central is they actually came and drove here for practice and drove back every single day this week. So you talk about perseverance to be in this game, they certainly have it.
I did hear that from coaches as well. They were really impressed. The fact that those guys were there, first one's there, last one to leave. Talking to Coach Sovakul. He was talking to the Central head coach,
Yes.
Coach Pena, and he said you did a great job with these guys. Easy to coach. They listen, they pay attention, and they want to make the team better.
Not always an easy thing to get.
No.
Also, was that Delshawn, by the way, who knocked down that pass? I could not tell.
On the outside, I believe so. Delshawn Traylor.
Delshawn can't do anything, but this is his favorite. This, to me, is his favorite position for when he goes to the armed forces.
This is a run to David Flores, the 6-foot, 240-pounder, rumbles his way for an 8-yard gain to bring up a 3rd and short.
It really well in the disguise to get that play done as well.
Once again, the north side really utilizing their right side of the line, finding lanes. We have 3:38 and counting here in the first quarter. And we have a 3rd and short for the North squad. This is their second offensive possession of the game.
So you can't see that now. It's a beautiful draw inside and a great job by Jonathan Harrison on the right side of the ball to make that happen.
They tried to draw an offsides. There is a flag thrown. Who moved first is the question.
It was definitely some movement on the south side. They were trying to draw him off sides there. I was looking back in the corners. I could see it.
I like what the north side did right there. Eicher came up to the line as if he was going to run a quick snap, and the south tried to anticipate that.
Michael McShane was really trying to draw him, and then I think he overdrew them.
And that will give the north side a first down inside the red zone. Looks like we'll call it the 12. Score 0-0.
This will be interesting to see how they utilize Flores there. You can see him hanging around the left side.
Eicher fakes the handoff. Will keep it. Gets to the outside. Has some room.
Out at the 2, it looks like. It's exactly what you would expect from Eicher. What you've seen from Sovacool's quarterbacks over the last couple of years is you would think when you watch them, Jake last year and then Marshall this year, that they wouldn't be running at all. That this is a simple Phillip Rivers-esque Chargers offense, which is fitting for a game sponsored by the Chargers, but it's actually not the case. Those quarterbacks can go. We see it now. We've seen it the last couple of years with the Sovacool offense. But they've really done a good job of assimilating with some of the San Pasquale staff that they have, getting a different type of running offense. Let's see what they do here on second.
And Trevor Jungman from San Pasquale under snap. He fumbled the ball.
Cannot see.
Who comes up with it? Near side official has his hand up as if the north side recovered.
It looked like Youngman got the ball back from what I can see over here. Yes, he did.
And he did.
And it was a very casual sort of fumble there. I don't even think that Youngman even saw it coming. Yeah, it was just a bad handoff, truly. They were trying to run the triple option to the right side. He just couldn't make it connect.
So he recovered it at the 3, brings up a 3rd and 1. We're coming up on the 2-minute mark here in the first quarter. It's the first time either side has threatened to score. Youngman still under snap. He'll hand it off to Desmond Ta'ua, who powers his way forward, gets tackled inside the 1. They almost have to go for it, you would think.
I think they will. What'll be interesting to watch here is we change the personnel. They have the 2 big backs from Vista in this game, but one thing that they have that the South may not recognize is the power of Joe Smith. You can run him on that jet sweep. You could watch him go to the right and take a handoff here if that's the way they wanted to go.
And you're talking Joe Smith of Mission Hills.
You bet.
They've ran a lot up the middle and off the right side. It'll be interesting to see what play call they come up with.
There's Joe running out to the corner, but it looks like they've got them all stacked up.
And it looks like a QB sneak with the big quarterback, Eicher, using his leg.
And they've got it. Touchdown.
And North gets on the board first with the Marshall Eicher QB sneak. And Sovacool wouldn't want it any other way than his quarterback scoring the first of the game with 1:18 remaining.
Really just a great push and a great seal block actually on the outside, on the inside there by the center. got perfect adjustment, moved his body, shifted, and it just basically created a beautiful screen door for Eicher to slide through for the touchdown.
A great second possession drive by the north side, starting with Trevor Jungman. They used 3 quarterbacks on that drive.
And why wouldn't they? It's an all-star game. If you're already worried about trying to have communication between players, well, throw it out the window. Just put everybody out there. And it allows, you can see that each quarterback worked in a different set of plays so they could run them efficiently.
Right.
I love that they used Osuna, who's vastly underrated, and they let him use his legs. And then you saw the classic La Costa Canyon play calling with the adjustment by Eicher, and then you saw them go right back inside where the territory needed to be to finish the drive off. But I'm interested to see what the South can come back with here. It's a great offensive team they've got assembled here. I want to see what they can put together.
We definitely know the strength of the North is their offense. The strength of the South is their defense. So we'll see how the South responds and who they come out with. They've been using a lot of Chris Davila.
And you understand why you would use Chris. He's, obviously the guys are all seniors, but when you're Chris, you've been playing with a lot of talented players.
Right. And
because of the way that Lincoln is stacked, he's been playing with different players every year that he's been under center. So he knows how to communicate with guys that may not be familiar with what they need to do. You could see that back when they were working 7-on-7 together, when the Hornets had their 7-on-7 team. He was pushing around guys that were still trying to figure out how to assimilate within Jason Carter's offense. So we're going to see how he can make that happen again if he's the one they call on here when they get the ball back.
So a 68-yard drive by the north side gives them the early lead, 7-0.
You're about to see a great kick here, by the way, by Zeke Mata. He is a 2-time Special Teams Player of the Year nominee for our PPR awards. Didn't win both times, but it wasn't because he wasn't good. It was because they had incredible guys in front of him, a big returner and a great kicker punter, and Ryan Sanborn, who's now playing at Stanford and starting there.
Who I think was a Special Teams Player of the Year in the Pac-12, if I'm not mistaken.
Basically.
And the South gets it at the 5. A great open field tackle, but he gets out of a tackle. Hamlet from Helix.
Stays squirrely. The power of Lincoln football there.
Started at Helix, went to Lincoln. I mean, a guy that could play anywhere on the field just because of his athleticism.
And you could tell he wanted that. He was determined before the game. He went right up to me and said, "You're about to see what's about to happen. You're about to see the magic happen." He wants to make it happen, in part because he got injured during this year. He got injured twice, and he didn't get a chance to make the impact he wanted to on a team that went to the D2 championship.
First and 10 for the South from 16.
D1 championship, excuse me. D2 was last year.
Yeah, they got bumped up because of their run 2 years ago. Faced against a really good Oceanside squad, the 9 seed, beating the 8 seed, the 4 seed, the 2 seed, and the 1 seed. I don't know. You've been around high school football a lot. I've never seen that.
And you can see Delshon working on both sides now. He's in the quarterback. Gets a nice 5-yard carry along the right side. You're going to see a lot of that from Delshon today. Plus, they've got a pretty good line there on the offense who really wants to get things done. Take a look at those guys across the brain. You're going to see a lot of meat there on the right side of the line, and you're going to see them work that all night long.
Trailer with a gain of 5 brings up a 2nd and 5. Watson to his left. They'll run left behind Watson. A flag from the secondary. Trailer picks up the first down.
There was a block in the back there. It looked by the offense, but that may not be the call. We'll have to see.
And we have a penalty on the defense.
Oh, very interesting. Let's take a look and see. I'm watching back on this replay. You talk about making a screen door. You can see 3 different blockers got in the way there on the little toss sweep and made it very efficient. I can already call out a couple of them. But essentially comes down to when you run the ball in an all-star game, it may not be as exciting as you want it to be, but it truly is actually efficient, and that's really what they're looking for.
Trailer still in the backfield.
Ryan Bill is out there. Jonathan Harris out there. There's so many great quality players.
Watson up the middle, picks up a couple. You have to figure at this point for the north side, seeing Trailer in that backfield, they're almost keying in on that run right now.
But the problem is that when it's Delshawn, you can key in all you want to, but he's of such talent and such magnitude that it doesn't end up working anyway to begin with.
And that will end the first quarter here at Mesa. Brandon, if you want to stick around a little bit longer, you can.
Well, I want to make sure I don't interrupt Coach Carroll's time. Coach, do you want to talk now or do you want to go? No, Coach says he's good.
Coach Carroll's doing work. He's a busy man. He just blesses us with his football IQ of over 25 years of coaching. Really put Oceanside on the map, and Coach David Rodriguez of Oceanside doing a really good job in taking the number 9 seed to become D1 champs and barely losing in that state playoff game. I saw the last play of the game where Kavika Tua was in the air like a missile and gets stunned at the 1 yard line. Oceanside literally 1 yard away from advancing to the state playoffs.
And not just advancing to the state championship, but advancing against a top 10 team in the entire state. So there is no shame in how Oceanside season ended. They should all be very proud of themselves. Well, let's get things started here in the second quarter. 7-0 belonging to the North.
We have a 2nd and 8 at the 34-yard line.
Second quarter of action, it's going to be 2nd and 8 from the 34.
Trailer's still in the backfield.
Keeps it on the RPO, looking just like Lamar Jackson. Beautiful space out past the 40 to the 45. Sweeps out of bounds. And you can see the danger there. They're still wondering about Watson. Watson was so effective on those first 2 drives for the South that now you can begin to work that RPO a little bit better and put the ball more in Trailer's hands.
South been moving the ball a little bit better. Offensively, plays have been opening up with Trailer's legs and speed getting to the outside. And
Interesting move
it's
there.
one or the other.
Did they put in John Carroll, I believe? Can't tell here. No, no, there might be another number. Trying to see. Or it might be Chance, actually. Note to the people in Spanos, make bigger numbers next year.
This is Trailer.
Oh, they try to shut it down on that other
Gets
side.
to the outside once again and picks up another big gain and a first down, crossing the 50 inside the 45.
That's all about the defense, by the way, of the North. Kyle Vassow, the Avocado Defensive Player of the Year, I believe. Watch how he shut down the left side, and that required Delshawn to move back to the right side. And he thankfully had a wall there with a beautiful block over there, and he was able to make it work. A great block by Zach Rackow of Otay Ranch.
Vassow on the season, 101 yards, 8 sacks for that Carlsbad squad that fell just short in the D1 championship game.
Rashad is alone by himself on the left side of this formation. Got a great matchup here with Kale. We'll see what happens.
Rashad Griffin of Scripps Ranch. The play looked like it was designed that way.
The funniest screen I've ever seen, Bo.
As he finds Watson 5 yards downfield and completes his first pass of the game.
And who would have thought we'd ever see some passing?
So the play action looked like it was trying to go left to Ron Van.
Chad Nucci of La Costa Canyon did a good job of getting in there on the play and creating some pressure, but just a great catch by Watson.
Griffin comes off.
That's the nice thing when you're the South. You have so many weapons you can use in the passing game, and it really resets the defense for the North. They have to change how they're playing this one, but now they're back in tight here. Shotgun formation, but they've got 4 on the left side. We'll see what they do. Oh, they tried to wing it back, but it doesn't work. It does not work at all. Try to get it in there to Chance, but it's immediately shut down by, of course, Kyle Vassow once again in on the play. Good job trying to give it a chance because he's a change of pace back. He's not the guy you want to give it to 30 times a game. He's the kind of guy you want to give it to 10 times a game to see what he does. But then Kyle, so efficient at shutting down lanes. It's really incredible what he's able to do, and that's part of the reason that Carlsbad got as far as they did in the open division.
We have a 3rd and long, 3rd and 9 inside the 45.
Penalty here. A delay. Delay?
Illegal
Or
substitution. Illegal substitution on the south side. We'll knock them back 5 yards, bringing up a 3rd and 14.
want to see they had Van out there, and I think they'd want to get it to him here. That's a guy you want to throw it to deep. Right now, if I'm working this South roster and I've got a guy like Delshawn that can throw the ball, I want to see you go to Van sitting out there wide. Now, of course, as you can see, they've got Watson in the slot position, but we'll see what they do there.
And that's Trailer. A lot of room to run.
And he uses it all. About 18 there on the carry. It seems like their motive there, they put all those wide receivers out there wide. They had 4 of them.
And they just ran streaks, just straight down the field.
Cleared the entire space out to let Delshawn run. That's just a great design there.
That is Trailer's third run of 10 yards or more on this drive alone.
And they didn't really blitz anyone. Of course, they can't. They only set 4, the 4 on the line, and it immediately sucked up the entire space. And for some reason, they actually sold down the middle. There were no cutout lanes on the left or right. They didn't send anybody to save on either side. It was replica of Vince Young in the Rose Bowl, to be honest with you.
Rashad Griffin near side at the bottom of your screen. Watson in motion. They give it to him.
And it's shut down immediately. Kyle, again, doing so well, hanging around from his perspective, the left side.
He's just filling that hole.
That's all he does.
A tackle for loss will bring up a 2nd and 11. And it looks like we have an injured player on the field with just under 9 minutes remaining, 8:59 on the clock. North roster.
I also want to remind our viewers right now, several of the people on this field will be committing to schools on Wednesday. It's an early signee day. And for those of you who know what I'm about, of course, KOSI will have all the coverage for you of that
Are you
of that
surprised
event.
by any players committing so far to
No,
any schools?
Not at all. I'm surprised it looks like we don't have more. That would be my answer. A lot of guys are weighing their options so far, and they're going to wait until February. So, but it means there'll be more work for me in a couple of months.
What do you think it will take to get more local guys at San Diego State?
A willingness for people to not want to go search the world. The hardest thing, as Brady Hoke and Rocky Long once said in press conferences, is kids don't want to stay home. They want to go find themselves within the world, and I think that makes it difficult to keep some talent at home. And I want that for some guys. There are some guys we don't want to see stay here. We want to see them try and conquer and do something in another place. I don't get offended when they don't stay, but it's also nice when they do. Let's see what happens here on 2nd down.
2nd and 11, Trailer will run it off the left side for 2 yards.
No space to have there. And I know you're going to be shocked by this, but it was Kyle once again who wrapped his legs around for the tackle there. Just so efficient with the football. So efficient seeing those lanes. Well, by the way, did you know that we have fans all the way in the East Coast watching this game? We have people in Boston watching this game.
That's why we do this.
I'm not going to mention them by name, but they're there.
This is the first ever broadcast of the Alex Spanos Classic in its 30-year history.
Well, I'm proud to be a part of that. You know, we also had a documentary that was done on this game about 4 years ago, but this is a whole different animal. A whole different animal.
LCC head coach Sean Zova-Cool leading the North squad. Head coach of San Diego High, Charles
Sending
James.
5 is look at Watts is going to tree up and throw, finds nothing.
I didn't see that one coming.
Not at all. But they're trying different things. You like to see that from a Charles James-led offense. A lot of times when you're looking at a Charles James offense, you're looking at putting 3 guys on the wing and deciding which of them you want to give the football and a motion going the opposite direction. But it's nice to see him opening up the game a little bit here. When I was looking on the sidelines, I saw some assistance from Lincoln. I saw some assistance from a couple other teams. So you could see them assimilating their game plans in here and giving some other options. But also when you're Charles and you're playing at San Diego, he didn't really have a consistent quarterback all year. And now in this game, he's got guys not only that are quarterbacks, but he's got guys that are playing other positions that can play quarterback. So he's using his entire treasure trove today.
Samuel Scaife of St. Augustine on the top of the screen, and we have a timeout by the South squad. Rashad Griffin is at the bottom of your screen.
And it seems as if everyone from the South is confused as to why they're calling a timeout, but they didn't like seeing they're on 4th and 9.
I think there was some confusion on personnel.
Bo, as the man in charge in the South Bay for us on the Prep Pigskin Report, who from the South Bay, I should say, are you excited to see in this game?
Yeah,
who were you interested in seeing?
The same player, when I asked Coach James, who was the one guy that stood out to you through practices, Ronald Van Jr. of Bonita Vista. A tall, athletic receiver, can stretch the field. One of the best 50-50 ball receivers in the county. Overlooked a lot because he was a South Bay guy at Bonita Vista. Bonita Vista didn't quite have the best of seasons, so because of that, often gets overlooked. But Bonita Vista head coach Samuel Kirkland, an NFL guy, a receiver in the league, talked highly of Ronald Van, and one of the reasons why Van has progressed throughout the season was because of Kirkland and his experience at the receiver level.
And to that, I'm not surprised. Interesting to see Carson Philly was named as a captain in this game, and whenever a center is your captain, it always makes you feel confident about your team's abilities, because when the center leads, everybody works well. Also, like Chris Curtis there as a lineman. Looks like he was playing left tackle just a moment ago. Delshawn Kyle is free. Can't watch out for that.
Right, has a receiver downfield. He'll throw it up. The 50-50 ball.
What a catch! What an absolute barn burner of a reception that was.
I want to say
by Max Susi.
Long pass is complete to Max Susi. Susi on the reception.
Bo, he is one of yours. He was a Play of the Week nominee for the Silver Pigskin Best of 2019 awards, and there he is, making that beautiful catch over the shoulder, both hands, right across a great defender, and you can see the talent that gets exposed in this game. Max was not on the radar for a lot of folks, but he is shown in this game with an interception and a beautiful catch right there, just why he has been the king for Eastlake this year.
I want to say that was Samuel Scaife, number 2.
Oh, look.
It was Samuel Scaife.
That was Sammy Boy?
It was. He was on the outside. Susie had a pick earlier.
No, that was Sam.
Samuel Scaife of St. Augustine.
That's all that Sam Scaife does.
And that's why I thought it was him, because he makes plays exactly like that. Scaife and
it also
Ron
shows
Van.
how close a 2 and a 7 look.
Scaife and Van, very similar in stature, size. They both go up with the best of them.
We got to give Sam Scaife the credit here. He was nominated for two-way player of the year in our Best of 2019 Prep Pigskin Report Award Show, and you can see exactly why. He makes those types of catches. I have called him the Odell Beckham Jr. of our county, and you can see why when you make a catch like that, going over the top, catching it with both hands, you can just see the talent pouring out of him. In any university, D1, D2, Power 5, Group of 5, they should absolutely think about having a guy like that there to make things happen.
And Scaife ties it up with the great catch, and that's why you watch these all-star games. Great individual effort by Samuel Scaife, the captain of the South squad.
Oh, fumble there.
The ball is loose, picked back up by the north side, and they get across the 25, take it to the 26, and that's where the north squad will start their third offensive possession. So the South responding with a Samuel Scaife touchdown to tie it at 7 with 7:45 remaining in the first half.
Chase, do you want to say something nice to the people?
What's up, y'all?
That's enough, Chase. Chase, you know, we have Chase Osborne in here. He was our PPR Wilbur Award winner. I just want to ask you, as Bo does the commentary, when you see Delshawn playing quarterback, but also playing corner as well, which one do you think, as a former Highlander, that he excels the most at?
I mean, at quarterback, he can make a play at any moment, and at cornerback, he's certainly solid, but just the dynamic playmaking ability he possesses at quarterback is just so valuable.
Absolutely. I didn't see that play, Bo. Did you see you ran it over
yeah,
there?
Osuna with the quick hit to Kel Patterson on the outside, and he picks up an easy 7. Or
you got to love that.
Ball at the 34-yard line.
And that brings up a 2nd and short at the 34. Osuna under center. The quarterback from Central with a quick toss right.
Great
Patterson.
toss. Couldn't find any space there, none at all.
Makes a couple guys miss, but he'll get tackled for a loss.
Pitch went to Noah Vela. Vela, the ball carrier.
And they're saying that was Noah Vela.
It was a great trip there. If I want to go ahead and look at 68, Jonathan Tuatasi did a good job getting in the backfield to make the play there.
Ball just shy of the 32-yard line.
The original play to make the pressure, though, that came from Sebastian Valdez.
3rd and 5. The handoff up the middle, and the South squad ready for it. Another tackle for loss. I'm surprised they didn't throw it right there on 3rd and 5.
Right there, trying to see the man in the middle. Oh, wow. It's a beautiful play by Justin Mills, it looks like.
And
a 3 and out will bring out the punter from the North with just over 6 minutes remaining here in the second quarter. And we have a late flag. We had a flag on the snap from the back judge. And usually when the flag comes from that spot, it's almost too many men on the field. An illegal substitution on the north side creates a first down and puts the ball back in the hands of the North offense. So after the south side's creating a 3 and out, north side will get another crack at it at the 36-yard line.
And let's see how they use it this time. We might want to see a return to that running offense that they were using. Their biggest breakout plays all came when they decided to fake one direction and move the other, whether it was using Flores or Taua or whether it was Eicher moving along the left side.
Marshall Eicher back in the game. And we have a timeout by the north side. So how fitting it is for the South roster. Coach Charles James of San Diego naming Samuel Scaife as the captain, and he comes up with the biggest play for them in the first half.
It's pretty much as on brand as you can get, to be honest with you. When we've seen Sam before, he was a man that I believe ranked, if my memory is serving me, in the top 8 in our preseason PPR top 30. Now, of course, maybe I shouldn't talk about the PPR top 30 considering that number 1 and number 3 in our Silver Pigskin voting weren't on said list. But then again, number 2 was
season.
number 1.
It's a long season.
But when you look at Sam, you're looking at a guy that knows how to use his body correctly. When you talk about making a catch, it's not your hands. It's about using your entire body
and setting
to
up the
locate
defender.
ball.
Because what happened was the defender was in front of him, almost utilizing that, setting him up, pushing him up a little bit, and stretching back with his 6'2" frame and snagging the ball out of the air.
And that's the way you have to love it.
North side gets another crack at it at the 36 after the penalty on the south side. This ball goes up the middle for a couple yards.
And not much to be said there.
Brings up a 2nd and 8 for the North squad.
It was a quality carry by Kale. There was just nowhere to be.
Well, and, you know, knowing what type of player Kale is, I'd like to see him get on the outside more. You have the bigger backs in Taua and Flores, more guys between the tackle. You know, I guess Patterson doesn't want to be in that calling of just a guy that goes outside.
Oh, another great stop.
And that was David Flores right there
Direct snap went to David Flores.
of Vista.
No game on the play. Third.
David Flores and Desmond Tuua combined for over 3,000 yards.
There was some indecision there actually on the snap before it got there.
And there's Max Suzy on the tackle.
Suzy to make the tackle. When you're trying to run that offense, it has to be quick. That was not a situation where you're trying to put the ball in his belly and then make a call. That situation when you're running this type of offense for the North that you have to just make that decision, split, and go with it. Big rollout here, trying to find Smith, and it bounces right off of his hands.
And that's a catch you have to make if you're Joe Smith from Mission Hills. Nice ball by Eicher, put it right on him, just unable to bring it in.
But you also have to recognize that, this is no slander to Joe Smith. You have to recognize the height of the receiver you're throwing to. If he had thrown that across at a different player, if he had thrown that at Lawson, it's a different story.
And the South defense holding strong.
Johnson deep for the South.
And one thing to point out here is Chance Johnson goes deep. He was also a nominee for Special Teams Player of the Year, and it was in part because he returned, I believe, 4 returns for touchdowns this year. Won't be a 5th one right here, though.
This ball will roll inside the 10 and stops, we call it the 9, and that's where the South squad will start their third offensive possession with 3:45 remaining in the first half.
And let's see who comes out as the signal caller for this one, too. That I'm also intrigued to see.
You would almost think Traylor would come back out after having success on that second drive by the South side.
But anything is truly possible, isn't it?
That's why we play the game.
That's why they play the game.
Can't tell if that's Traylor or Davila.
No, that is Watson.
That's
on the direct
Watson
snap.
taking the direct snap. I saw the white
looking for
helmet.
a quarterback. I couldn't find one.
I saw the white helmet in the backfield with Watson.
5-yard procedure penalty.
And another false start. I want to say that's about the third false start on the offense. Really killing themselves in the first half with these penalties. Bringing up first and 15 inside the 5.
But they are not going to change their offensive strategy. No, sir, no how.
Watson off the right side, pushes his way forward, almost gets back to the original line of scrimmage for a 4-yard gain.
He had a fullback there that didn't actually get to do anything, and Troy Williams.
And we have a flag from the secondary after the play was over.
Great wrap-up of the legs by Robbie Greer, by the way, out of Westview. Westview, a team on the rise.
It was after the play, so you would think of unsportsmanlike conduct, and that's the call. As the South will pick up a first down off the penalty.
That's one way to get down the field, Bo.
Get their backs off the goal line. Now they have some breathing room as Delshawn Traylor comes back into the game. Ball at the 23 with 3:20 and counting here in the first half.
You take a look at this defensive lineup. Right now they're running a 3-4 on the North squad. But to actually help them because it helps zone on the outside, as you can see right there on the big stop. A big crush led by the aforementioned Robbie Greer getting the tackle.
Greer, one of the biggest guys on the field, gets the tackle for the loss, knocking him back 4 yards.
Pretty simply tried to keep it and just plain didn't work. Greer was right there alongside Angel Nava and Esparza out of Central, both right on top of the ball. Vassal was there, of course, as well as Trevor Heat of Costa Canyon. You had 4-on-1, and I mean, Delshawn's a great player, but when there's 4 players on you, you really can't be great anymore. Chase, are you good back there? That's good. I just came to see if Chase was okay.
And the South, I believe, just used their third timeout with 2:27 remaining.
And for good measure. I also want to shout out the man who is doing a good job broadcasting this one. That would be the one, Pablo Espinal, a great man that we've had at KOSI for many years. Love all the work that he's done.
Because of him
Great
and
man.
Jose Martinez, it's the only reason.
I'm not going to give Jose any credit on the air. I don't want his head to get too big. But I'll give all the credit to Pablo.
Well, I will give the credit to Jose. A man we all know and love.
Yes, that's well done. We were trying to.
Turn it back to us.
Yeah, greetings to all.
Turn around.
If you're
on the
wondering
camera.
who's involved in all this horrible commentary, it would be me.
It's us.
No,
mostly him.
if we're broadcasting this next year, remind me to bring binoculars.
From the Mesa.
Yes.
On the campus of Mesa College.
Home of the Olympians, and I want to also give a nice shout out to all the junior college football that's played in this county. Southwestern, Palomar, Grossmont, and of course Mesa College. Someone new
Rolls
behind the line of
left.
scrimmage. And a great
Has
little
some
shuffle
room.
there.
Gets past the 20 and gets tackled at the 24.
We were so busy talking to the camera that we weren't looking up to notice that the quarterback changed on that side. Evan Deonda of Hilltop. Hilltop had a great year, won the league championship, isn't that correct? And
Metro
the
South
Metro
Bay
South Bay.
champions. Coach Westland doing a great job with the Lancer program. Deonda, considered by most to be a system quarterback. We'll see how he does here.
I've always hated that term system quarterback. To me, it's actually a compliment. You know the system? Good. You should. You're the quarterback. You know, they used to call Chase Osborne a system quarterback.
Well, look at him now. Watson to the left hip of Deonda. Deonda with his heels on the goal line, looks left.
He's under duress, has to get out. Ball's in the air. That is an interception. Beautiful callback by the North defense. And suddenly the entire race of this game has changed. Beautiful play by Tristan Garcia off of the flop out by Chad Nuncy. Beautiful job going after the quarterback. You saw Chad getting a hand on the football, pops in the air, and that's when Tristan comes down with the catch. Both guys doing a quality job there, and suddenly the North has this game in their hands.
The North with their first turnover here in the first half goes for a score as they take the lead 13-7 with 1:54 remaining.
And it's a simple play here as I'm going back and looking at it. It wasn't sort of bad defense, a bad play from the offensive line. It was just a beautiful drive. And the weird thing about this is that both the players on this play, Chad and Tristan, were actually both playing as defensive end and defensive tackle on the right side of the North line. They both drive in, but as you can see, what happens is that Tristan actually peels back when he recognizes that he's not going to be able to get to the quarterback and becomes sort of that spy in the middle. And so when Chad gets around the lineman, has some space, and I also want to give credit, I couldn't see there, to someone who actually ended up tripping up Deonda. He's able to get there, put an impact on the ball, and that's what allowed Tristan to get into the end zone.
And Mata drills that one through for the extra point as North with a touchdown lead, 14-7 with 1:54 remaining here in the first half.
I actually think it was I couldn't see, still can't see, so I want to give them credit, but I can't.
Run that back on the replay.
I
Let's
sure
see.
will, sir.
So pressure off the right side.
Oh, it was actually Kiki. Kiki's the one who got the first hand on the quarterback there. That got Deonda uncomfortable. And I love Kiki.
Yeah.
I could make an obvious joke to a
Let's
song
not.
right now, but I'm not. Hey, Chase, did you see the comment? Chase was a system holder.
I can work in any system as a whole.
But really a beautiful game this far. Bo, I cannot see around this pole, so could you please tell me the score and the time?
14-7. North squad up. 1:54 remaining.
Deep water on a kickoff in the North.
North jumped out early 7-0. Marshall Eicher.
And if there's a team that can score with 1:54 on the clock, it would pretty much be this one. Beautiful one coming out to the 20. Thought he was stopped, but he wasn't. Beautiful shift off to the left side by Ronald. Man. and he's down at the 37-yard line. We said before this game, when we said in the second quarter, Ron Van could do a lot of things, and you see him start to do those things here as he gets the beautiful burst for 37 yards.
Van uses his opportunity, touching the ball for the first time here in the first half. 37-yard on the kickoff return, brings it to the 38.
And it shouldn't have taken 20 minutes or 22 minutes for that to happen, by the way.
1:44 remaining. The south side going to try to drive down with no timeouts.
Again, Rashad alone there down low. And he's getting a little bit of space there from Mr. Reese. But the ball goes inside the trailer, who's going to end up getting about 4 or 5.
And they will need to get back on the ball quickly with 1:35 and counting. With great field position, you hate to see this possession go to waste. But the South looks like they're content going into the half, chasing 7.
But you also have to remember that if you're the South, you can score in about 15 seconds with one of these guys they have as skill players. So you can conserve some time. That might be something they're thinking about.
Samuel Scaife, top of your screen on the outside. Rashad Griffin of Scripps Ranch, near side. Delshawn.
Fake.
Tries to get to the outside.
No space. Space is out. Throws on the outside and nowhere to be found. The pass there, the attempt.
And we have a late flag.
It's going to Rackow of Old-Time Ranch.
Chad
Nutsky
hit the quarterback late. He's trying to plead his case to the white cap.
He sure did, though. He will not get away with that case because he sure hit him when he shouldn't have.
Roughing
they should have had
passer.
him from the beginning, though. It was great coverage by Nick Blanchard, who was sitting out there as the end. Should have had Delshawn down, and that put him in a position where Chad was already charging towards the quarterback, really couldn't do anything about it.
And roughing the passer will create another first down for the South side. One of the ways to move the ball forward, as the North side has, defensively at least, shot themselves in the foot multiple times with big penalties to keep the drive alive for the South side. And they will mark off 15 yards.
That's exactly what they needed here. Now, what I'm hoping to see from this South offense as we're going through here, I know they want to run the ball, but it's about how you run the ball at this point, not if you run the ball. So we're going to have to see how they decide to frame it up.
Kyle Simpson in the game. He's the outside receiver at the bottom of your screen. And we have a whistle. An official timeout. So we have a 4-receiver set. The first time we've seen this 4-receiver set here today for the South roster.
Well, we saw it once, but it ended up being a draw, a quarterback draw. So maybe we'll see when they actually throw it. That would be interesting, especially since it looks like right now they only have one truly deep safety there for the North. That would be, whoop, there we go. Oh, it'd be Quentin.
Quentin Hadnot. One of our top 30
Yes, I believe
seniors.
he was number
27. I want to
27?
say something like that.
I like how Pablo just said I was still up here like it was a problem. Guess what? I'm going to stay up here.
They're calling for you.
All you people that hate my announcing thus far, get ready to hate it some more for the next minute. Especially with Delshawn back and 4 receivers.
To the left, to the right. Pressure.
No blockers inside. Vassal's gets the first hit, and the rest of them will come right alongside a torrent of folks from the North with a beautiful stop. We'll take a look here. Oh, a great rumble inside by Kiki, first off.
And that's a big play for the North side defense. As the clock continues to run, the last thing you want to do in that situation is take a sack. But with the pressure coming from every which way, Trailer had no chance.
26, and it continues to run. Directing traffic is Delshawn. Going back, has some protection. The middle's beginning to break down. Delshawn steps up, looking for something. Got from behind and sacked.
And that looks like that play, the big sack and back-to-back sacks for that D-line of the North roster will end the first half.
And we discussed how good Kyle Vassow has been. He has been, as far as I'm concerned, the MVP for the North in this game. And you saw exactly why with back-to-back stops there leading this team.
So we head into the half. North 14, South 7. Give me a quick synopsis of what you thought in that first half, Brandon.
I can make it pretty simple here. When you're looking at keys for the North, the running offense works. The passing offense works when the running offense works. When it comes to the North defense, it's all about continuing to find pressure. They are currently crushing the ends here, but they're also getting swallowed up by how good their ends are doing. It's opening up the middle of the field. So if you're the North coach, if you're Sean Silvercool going in there, you're telling your North defense, that front core 7, when they run either the 3-4 or 4-3 because they've been switching, you tell them, great job on the ends, great job working the offensive tackles down, great job grinding them down, but we can't lose the middle of the field. And the one time in this game where they maintained the middle of the field, where their end drew off because they knew we couldn't get on the outside, they were able to get a pick 6. That, to me, is the draw. That play they ran for the pick 6, that's got to be their motivation for how they go into the second half. If you're playing for the South, where is your passing offense? You have Sam Scaife who makes the big catch. Rashad hasn't touched the football. Ron Van hasn't touched the football. Why are these people not touched the football? Your line is doing a fine job of pass blocking, but these folks haven't touched the football. What are you missing? What have you not done to get in there and change the pace of the ball game?
You know, looking at this crowd, we have a nice crowd.
We sure do have a nice crowd, and we also have a nice player. Can I introduce somebody over here? Come on over here, Nick. I'll also bring in on the we still are going, right? We're not just talking randomly, I hope.
No, we're not. Let's we're gonna try to get us on camera right now. This is our first ever broadcast of the Alex Spanos Classic, so bear with us. And here we are.
Nothing's wrong with radio, by the way. I want to introduce Nick Polino here, who just ended up shooting this entire game, the first half thus far. Nick, one of our employees over at KUSI. I feel so informal now that I'm sitting, but I don't care. Nick, what were your impressions of the first half? What did you see? What did you like?
I liked they were getting everyone in. Everyone was playing. You were seeing new faces. That Sam Scaife catch was unbelievable. And, yeah, that was my favorite part so far.
I bet you liked that, didn't you? You spent a lot of time in the North this year. That was the place that you covered for a lot of time. Who did you see from the North that you enjoyed so far in this game, aside from Jonathan Harrison, since we know you love him so much? Or anyone else you liked?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the quarterback play, Dinero Osuna, that was somebody that a lot of people didn't see, but I got to see twice play this year. That kid's a stud, but he plays out of Central Union, so not a lot of people know who he is.
I couldn't agree more. Dinero Osuna was actually in our honorable mentions for our PPR Top 30, and he was one of, I think, only 7 folks to come back and play this year that were juniors or sophomores that were all CIF. So there's no surprise there. Bo, your impressions?
Well, I was going to come back to Nick. You've experienced football out at Central Union. Talk about that, because not a lot of people get to experience that environment, that small town feel. The stadiums are packed from sideline to sideline. Just give the fans back at home who don't get to travel out to the desert, give them an idea of what football is like out in the desert.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, desert, there's not a whole lot to do out there, so the whole community shows up. I mean, it's a packed crowd. I believe when I saw them play, it was against, well, I went and saw Francis Parker, but I think that was another game. Right. But the game I saw for Central Union, it was a packed house. I mean, everyone's out there. Every touchdown, they have a confetti blower going. They got a guy selling the blasters out there. So it's a fun environment and good place to be, honestly.
You know, talking to parents from Central Union, it's one of those fields where I played football here, my brother played football here, my kid's playing football here, his kid will play football here. It just seems like the generational football really has paved well for him this year.
Well, with Osuna specifically, you can check out our podcast online on YouTube, but his brother and dad both played quarterback there, so that's a prime example right there.
Central going back-to-back section, almost winning the section championships, falling short to Morris last year and to Scripps Ranch this year. No, Central.
Oh, Central. They lost.
They did fall short to Scripps Ranch. Okay. No, Scripps Ranch lost.
No, Scripps Ranch lost in the finals.
Yeah.
But they had Central and West Hills.
They beat Central in semis. Okay.
A lot of blue.
Yeah.
You know, when you have 5 divisions to cover,
it gets a little...
Yeah,
right.
You know, it's not easy to remember each and every round.
Osuna had 40 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio in his 2 years as quarterback, over 4,500 passing yards. Just great football. You mentioned throws a tight ball. He gets to the outside when he needs to. He'll throw the deep ball with the best of them. And a guy we've also mentioned, Angel Nava Esparza, plays a little defense and offense. I caught a game last year against Santa Fe Christian in the semifinals, 4 rushing touchdowns. So when they needed to run the ball, Angel Nava Esparza was one of those guys.
Plus, he's just got a great name for me to yell. It's good. So, Nick, while we're all standing here and waiting, why don't you tell people who are watching this broadcast now where they can see the best highlights when it's over?
Yeah, so I'm up there filming for KUSI. You can check out the All Sports Report at 10:45. PPR Raw will be online as well, and that's where you can see the full highlights from the game. Obviously, we have only so much time on the ASR, so...
Does Jose want to express any thoughts, or is he too busy passing out food?
Jose Martinez,
I'm gonna
one
let
of the
Jose,
reasons why we
I'm going to
are
let Jose jump in.
on this live broadcast. Thank you for the water. You're too kind.
I'll stand up now because Jose showed back up.
Jose was down on the field
If my head gets cut off, I don't care.
giving you all the great looks down low. Jose, what was your reaction from that first half?
Well, I got to say, both of these teams are stacked, especially the South team. They got some really, really good players. I think right now skill is beating speed, strength, and numbers. I think Coach Silvercool came in with the plan, and he's executed it to perfection.
What do you think about him bringing in 3 quarterbacks on one drive? You rarely see that in an All-Star game.
Well, I think he had to open up his playbook. Obviously, he wasn't going to bring the LCC playbook in,
Right.
so he came up with a bunch of crazy stuff. He told me at practice a couple days ago. He said, "Don't show this play on camera. Don't show this." When we were at practice filming
Right.
it, and obviously that's why he
Right.
didn't want to give away any secrets. But yeah, he's breaking out the playbook, and he knew he had to. This is a really good South team, really, really good, and right now it's working. It's working.
Talking to Coach Silvercool before the game, he said, we have 3 different playbooks for 3 different quarterbacks.
There you go.
And it's to run a system for a certain quarterback. He's not one of those, you're going to play in my system. It's, what do you do well? And I'm going to work that for you. And it seems like it's working out well.
It's working very well. He put the right guys in the right positions. He had a plan for each of his guys. I mean, it's Silvercool.
Yeah.
He's great at that. So
They brought in Trevor Jungman on the second offensive possession. He had a 27-yard run. The big play that started that offensive run for the North in that first quarter. Marshall Eicher, we've seen him on a couple RPOs, big runs. And Osuna, they've used his legs to get outside, and he's thrown a couple nice balls, just unable to connect early.
yeah, and the only times they haven't succeeded is just because the South is just that good.
Right.
They've read the play, but they're still adjusting. I think the South is still adjusting to what Coach Silvercool is bringing. That last touchdown was obviously unfortunate
Right.
for the South team. You just got to throw the ball away, right? You just got to get rid of it.
It's tough when your heels are on the goal line. Deonda?
No. Phillip Rivers throws it at the ground at the nearest receiver. He
Right.
absolutely spikes it.
Right.
He just never wanted it up in the air, especially that close in the goal line.
Yeah.
Good player to reference in this game. You want to go pass out stuff now?
I'm going to go give you guys some food.
We have
Well, okay then.
7
Who's
minutes.
supposed to come in here for the third quarter?
We have Coach John Contreras supposed to be here in the
Oh, okay,
third.
cool.
I haven't seen him around. Have you?
He's here.
Oh, yep. He actually, speaking of Coach.
Oh, is he literally walking up right now?
Speaking of the man himself.
I feel when sorry, I have to go back to wrestling for this one. Jerry Lawler, they have like this king music when he comes in. When Jerry Lawler comes in wrestling, there's king music that comes in. I feel like if John Contreras, I feel like I have to, John Contreras here, show my genuine. Whenever you want to take this mic, John, for the third quarter, you just come take it, because
Contreras has blessed the airwaves for more than 3 decades in San Diego.
Yes.
With every
Certainly.
sport you can think of.
So I think I'll make my last thoughts about this game.
Okay.
In the second half, what do I want to see? What I want to see from the North is to stay dedicated to covering the middle of the field, because Delshawn's not going to stop playing anytime soon. When it comes to the North, I want to see that offense continue to shuffle those quarterbacks through. When it comes to the South, what do I want to see? I want to see the ball thrown in the air more than 15 yards. They have to do something about that. I know Charles likes to run the football, but if he's going to run the football, he better just bring the old Cavers playbook back If he's going to do that, I want to see the ball in the air. I want to see the ball in Rashad's hands. I want to see the ball in Sam Scape's hands. If they do that, they can get this football
really
game
the
under
offensive
control.
play calling, other than the run with Xavier Watson, is receivers, streaks, run downfield, and opening up running lanes for Delshon Traylor. So you're either chucking it 50 yards or you're running it for 10 yards, and that's kind of been the game plan for the South.
Is it time to take a break, Pablo? Should we let this man get some water in his system and tell people to come back in 5 minutes?
We have about 5 minutes until we start the second half
I'll let
of
you
the
toss them
30th
away.
annual
Watch
Alex
us tonight.
Spanos
I love you all.
Classic. Thank you, Brandon Stone.
Peace.
Happy holidays to you.
Love.
And we'll be back shortly on YouTube.
We went for a while. You and I.
Yeah, that was good.
Did you have fun with that?
Oh, yeah. Of course. Of course. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
How's Sam doing? How do you end up over there? You gonna go back? Okay. Well, we'll have to. Then you got to get a real job, right? Okay, send me a text. Where are they getting together? That might be a little tough for me because I got to get to the station a little bit early. Okay. All right, Patty. Thanks. Okay. That's just a pony knew for me when he was 13 years old and I was 19.
All right, thank you for staying with us. Here we are at Mesa College for the 30th annual Alex Spanos Classic. I'm now joined by Coach John Quintero, who's blessed the airwaves for more than 3 decades here in San Diego. Coach, what did you see in that first half?
Well, the first thing I saw before they ever played the national anthem was watching both the North and South warm up. And, Spanos Ski's been going, Bo, for 30 years. And, there have been a lot of great players. But I'm going to tell you, tonight, we got a really good group of athletes on both sides of the county, North and South. This is the best roster I've seen in the last few years. And, first half, I was down on the sidelines. I actually spent time on both sidelines in the first half. There's some hitting going on. And the second half's going to be rather interesting because I do expect in a game like this we're probably going to have a few trick plays somewhere along the line.
I would expect that. What do you think of the coaching on both sides? Obviously, it's a bit difficult. New players in the system, trying to find what works best for them. How do you think that worked out in the first half?
Well, I think the most thing, I've had experience coaching in basketball all-star games, football all-star games, baseball all-star games, and the one thing you go in as a coach, you're a little uptight because you want to make sure everybody gets their opportunity to participate because they've earned it. Number one, they've been invited to the most prestigious all-star game in San Diego, number one, and their mom and dads, grandfathers, friends, they're all here. Right. And so you want to make sure everybody gets equal playing time. But, once they get to the fourth quarter, you want to win a football game. And this game right now is definitely up for grabs. So I think you might see some trickery from both sides in the second half. And first half, some really nice plays on both sides of the ball, some good defensive plays and some pretty good offensive plays as well.
Northside currently leads 14-7 over South. Marshall Eicher got the scoring started in the first with a quarterback sneak. Samuel Scaife probably with the biggest play of the game with that big touchdown. Tied it up at 7 apiece, and then Tristan Garcia with that pick 6 in the second quarter to give North the lead.
Well, I saw Marshall Eicher. I didn't see him play this year. I saw him as a junior, and I think he had a pretty good senior year. I know LaCosta kind of bowed out early in the playoffs, but he's got talent. Samuel Scaife played on both sides of the ball for St. Augustine, and he probably, because they had so many good players down there, he probably didn't get maybe the
recognition,
the love that he probably deserved.
Right.
And Tristan Garcia played on both sides of the ball for Robbie Gilster up there at Valley Center, a linebacker, running back, and he looked good on that interception, didn't he?
Yeah, he sure did. So we have 14-7, and it looks like the kickoff will begin. So we'll go ahead and get it to the field here at the moment. The north side will be kicking it to the south. So you would think with Delshawn Traylor really moving the ball well for the South, they'll bring him out. Actually, and excuse me, it's the South side kicking off to the North side, so North will start the second half with the ball. But I was really impressed to see, even on those first couple possessions, Coach Sovakul bringing in 3 quarterbacks on one offensive possession. You rarely see that in an all-star game.
Oh, that's for sure. But, again, it's an all-star game, and every quarterback has his own little strengths and weaknesses.
And a great return by the North, crossing the 40. That's Quentin Hadnot of Mission Hills, another great two-way player. Bring it up to the 42 to start the possession in the second half.
Yeah, Hadnot had a really nice career playing up there at Mission Hills for Chris Hauser, and as you mentioned, these guys plays on defensive side of the ball, offensive side of the ball, and we can see right there, he's a pretty good return man. And one big thing with a kickoff return guy, it's not like a punt where you're going to kind of wiggle here, wiggle there. You got to be able to hit that seam when you see it.
And Osuna will start at quarterback. And it looks like too many men on the field once again for the South. as we've seen that multiple times here today, unfortunately. And it looks like we have two Vista Panthers in the backfield. Both running backs combining, that's Tua and Flores, rushing for more than 3,000 yards on the season, 35 rushing touchdowns. And it was one of the reasons why Vista won league champs in the Palomar League. 1st and 5. Osuna with a nice pass and unable to bring it in. That's the other Vista receiver, Brent Lawson, almost unable to come down with that, and that was Kyle Simpson on defense.
You know, Bo, De Niro Osuna, the young man from Central High School over in the Imperial Valley, I was really excited about seeing him play tonight. I saw him play in their playoff loss to Scripps Ranch, and he didn't have a good night. He threw some interceptions, but he took some hellacious hits. But the thing that really impressed me was that he really competed all night long. Even though we were down big in that game, he continued to compete. And I was talking with Dale Henry, who coaches at La Costa Canyon, the offensive line, and I asked him about Osuna and how practice. He said, kid's great, definitely thinks he's a scholarship type athlete. He's a qualifier, and you know, I know he threw that one interception early, but guy's got a lot of talent.
Osuna looks right. He'll get it out in the flats. And a short pickup. One of the things that stood out to me about Osuna was his progressions. If that first look isn't there, he'll go through his progressions, and that just takes a little bit of experience and time, but it shows composure as well for a young quarterback.
Well, and no question about it. I think you bring up an excellent point, Bo. In the game I did against Scripps Ranch, he didn't have time. He wouldn't get no time at all, but he really competed that night. The other thing, he's had a great career at Central. He threw for over 7,000 career yards in high school. That's a lot of yards.
And he'll hand it off. And no gain on the run will bring up a 3rd and 9. That's Taua from Vista.
You know, Desmond's another guy that probably didn't get the love he deserved this year, maybe with some of the postseason accolades. He had a great career playing for the Vista Panthers, and Dave Bottom up there. Played on both sides of the ball, returns kicks, returns punt, and just comes from an outstanding family. His dad's one of the assistant coaches at Vista.
This is the opening possession in the second half. Northside up 14-7, coming up on the 10-minute mark. Osuna looks left, has a receiver. That's Kel Patterson in the flats with some room, and he'll get tackled inside the 25 with a big gain.
There's a guy that'll be interested to see where he goes and plays. Kel Patterson, you know, he and, of course, his father's the head coach there, Jason Patterson. You talk about a revival of a football program in the last couple of years. They've done a great job, and Cale's been a big part of it. They've been on an all-CIF team each of the last 2 years, deservedly so. They got to a state championship game last year and just put together a remarkable career.
Patterson with more than 3,000 all-purpose yards this season, top 5 in all major categories, and that's a reason why, as they fed him the ball. You don't see too many bell cows nowadays, but Patterson was one of those guys. And a great job once again by that front 7 of the South team. Their strength with another tackle for loss. Youngman tried to get to the outside, just unable to.
Youngman, there's another guy. He was the player of the year in his league this year, did an outstanding job leading San Pasquale to a league title. And, you know when he comes in, they're probably going to run some type of option. But, they haven't given him a whole lot of opportunities tonight as far as the offensive line block. And he's been having to run with a lot of duress following him.
Malaulu on the tackle brings up a 2nd and 19. As they'll hand it off up the middle, David Flores gets through a couple tackles, but is eventually brought down after a couple yard gain. Flores, 6 foot 240.
Yeah, the thing about David, they'll tell you he was kind of the bell cow of their offense. I mean, we talked about Taua earlier, and Desmond certainly had his opportunities, but Flores is the guy that, got a lot of the tough yards, the inside yards, but he's also pretty good at working out of the backfield as a receiver. I mean, they used him quite a bit, dumping balls to him, and he'd get down the middle on the seam on maybe a fake handoff, a little play action pass. He had a really good year.
Marshall Eicher comes back in the game with Kel Patterson behind him. 2 receivers to the left, 1 on the top of the screen. Eicher will fake the handoff. Quick hit to Joe Smith over the middle. brings it down cleanly, and he'll get tackled at the 21 to bring up a 3rd and 9.
Well, Joe Smith, another guy from Mission Hills. I mean, can you imagine Chris Hauser? He has a guy like Hadnot, and he's got a guy like Joe Smith. I mean, both those guys know how to get open. They're tough. They're not afraid of contact, and both those guys really deserve to be in this game tonight, and I'm glad they're here.
And that brings up a 4th and 9 as Mata comes into the game. This is a 38-yard field goal. Mata, a career high 53 yards. He said he could hit it from 60-plus in practice, just never had the opportunity in the game.
Bo, I was down on the field watching Mata warm up.
He's impressive, isn't he?
Ball flies off his foot. This should be no problem as long as he's accurate.
Has plenty of leg, and through the uprights, increases the lead 17-7 with 7:32 remaining in the 3rd quarter.
7:32 to go in the 3rd quarter of action.
So Northside opening the 2nd half with a scoring drive. Has to pave well and feel good if you're Coach Silvercool.
Oh, there's no question about it. And, I was down on that north sideline earlier, and, when Samuel Scaife caught that touchdown and eventually the extra point tied the ball game up, boy, you should have seen that La Costa coaching staff over there that's coaching the North. They were yelling for offensive pass interference.
Right.
And there was some jostling. I was right there where it happened, and there was some jostling. But, I think both players were kind of, defending one another, and Samuel was able to come up with that catch for a nice touch for the South, and that's their only score to this point. But, when I got here and I was watching them warm up, I always like to watch warm up, especially in All-Star games, because I want to get familiar with the players. But there was a big size advantage for the North as far as the offensive and defensive linemen.
That's usually the case, though, North.
No, it is. But then when you look at the South, now I'm looking at the guys that I know in the South, I go, man, these guys got some speed and quickness. Unfortunately, they haven't really been able to utilize it so far tonight in this ball game. Maybe, they get the opportunity here with their first possession in the 2nd half. Maybe they can uncork a couple of things.
The North now with the biggest lead of the game, up by 10, 17-7. As this one dribbles, picked up at the 10 by the South. Looks like Rashad Griffin on the return. Rashad Griffin out of Scripps Ranch brings it up to the 33, and that's where the South will start their opening possession in the 2nd half.
Now, Rashad Griffin was on a team this year that had a lot of really, really good players, and I give Marlon Gardner, their head coach, a lot of credit. They had a marvelous year. They finished 12-1. They got beaten in their championship game by La Jolla, but they'll be back. They have a lot of good players coming back. They're also losing some really good players.
Rashad Griffin, long, great in the air, reminds me a little bit of a Mike Williams type of receiver. Not explosive, but can stretch the field, has the long hair to go with it, standing at 6'2", close to 200 pounds, so really good size for a receiver on the outside. Looks like we have Davila out of Lincoln. He'll throw it out in the flats, but the North side all over it. Great open field tackle on that far side, and another tackle for loss. We've said that a lot here today.
Well, a couple of things that have to play. Number one, the offensive line's going to hold up, and they're running a quick hitch out there. That's great if you can outnumber them blocker-wise. The problem was the North outmanned the South player-wise over there, and they didn't have any room to run. If you've got great speed, you want to try to get guys out in space, but also you want to stretch the field a little bit and see if one of these burners on the outside can beat someone in their one man-to-man coverage.
That was Troy Williams on the catch. Ron Van near side in the slot. He had that one big return on the kickoff. Hasn't seen much action since then. Watson up the middle. One of his best runs of the game. We'll call it for 6, bringing it up about a 3rd and 7.
I saw Xavier Watson this year, numerous times, ball games we were doing, and he's a guy that can move the pile. The only, criticism of his running style, he needs to get his pad level down a little bit. He runs a little bit too high, but I'll tell you what, when he is able to get those pads down, that pile is normally moving where he wants it to move. He had a really good year and a very nice career overall at Cathedral Catholic. It was interesting, he had a great sophomore year because Sean Poma got hurt, and then Poma came back, and he ended up being the player of the year in the county last year, so Xavier didn't get many opportunities, and this year he was the number 1 guy, and he put up some big numbers.
3rd and 6. And a bad throw, unable to get it out there. It looked like he just lost the grip on it. Didn't come out the hands as clean as he'd like. And Makai Shaw just unable to bring it in, and a 3-and-out for the South Side.
You know, Makai Shaw, who that pass was intended for, I saw him play this year for Scripps Ranch, and he plays in the secondary, wide receiver. He's actually, if you started to break it down, he's probably one of the better athletes I saw all year in the county.
Yeah, he reminds me of a little Kyle Simpson as well. Does a little bit of everything on both sides of the ball.
There are a lot of talented guys in this game. You know, we were talking when we came back to start the third quarter, Bo. I mean, got some really good guys in this game, and you know, some of these guys are getting recruited, some of them aren't getting recruited, and I kind of wonder why. I mean, as long as they're qualifying academically, just about every guy in this field should be able to get some type of scholarship if they're honest about their ability and what level they want to play at college football.
Are you surprised to see guys going to other Mountain West schools other than San Diego State right now? What does that say to you at this point?
Well, you know, guys go to school. Some guys want to leave San Diego. They want to go out and get away from mom and dad, and they want to have the full college experience. They don't want to drive to San Diego State or live close by, that they can go home every time something is tough. And, you know, I know, Elian Noah is going to go to Utah State. Unfortunately, he's hurt and can't play in this game, but, he had I give that kid a lot of credit. I mean, he had a great career. He's a hard-working guy, and I'm sorry his high school senior year got cut short, but I got all the respect in the world for Ellie and Noah.
Noah broke Reggie Bush's record this year, and Bush was nice enough to send a big congratulations out. And it's just that San Diego camaraderie. Everyone's kind of family in that sense.
You know, I'm glad I got the opportunity. We give out a player of the week each week for male and female, the Lolita Student Athletes of the Week. And Elian won it early in the year, and I'm glad he did, because we have a banquet in the spring where we bring about 60 athletes in and honor them, bring their parents in. But I got an opportunity to visit with Elian and his mom and dad when we were leaving the prep pigskin gala a couple weeks ago, and really had a nice chat with his mom and dad and him, and just wanted to tell him how much respect I had for him.
Eicher fakes a handoff and hits his receiver over the middle. The North offense starting to find their groove, and that looked like Brent Lawson out of Vista. So we talked about the two running backs from Vista, and Brent Lawson was that go-to guy on the outside.
Well, there's a reason they won a league title this year. I mean, that over there at Dick Haynes Stadium brings a lot of memories back to Coach Haynes, who ran a legendary program there. It's nice to see the Panthers getting back in the winning ways here the last few years.
Ball spotted at the 49, or excuse me, the 39. 17-7 north side with 5:12 and ticking here in the third quarter. Eicher's still in the game. And he'll hand it off to Ta'ua, who gets tackled for a loss. Great play by that defensive line of the South, their strength. And it looks like the tackle was made by a combination of Susie and number 21, Mazzado Thompson. Brings up at 2nd and 11.
It's a lot warmer up in this booth than it is down on the field. It's a little cool down there, but you know what? The players are fired up. Everybody's happy to be a part of this game. And
here's a little trickery as they get the ball in the hands of the speedster. That looks like Quentin Hadnot, unable to get to the outside. Another great job going sideline to sideline by that South defense.
You know, I don't like to get political on broadcast,
of course
okay?
not, but we're going to.
I do have to say this. We can say what we want and think about what we want about the Chargers.
Right.
But you know what? I saw Kimberly Layton from the Chargers down there, gave her a big hug, wished her a happy holiday. And, you know, I thank them for continuing to sponsor this game. They haven't forgot how much this game means to these kids in San Diego. And also, you know, something that I was unaware of, that I was made aware of in the last couple of days, the Chargers also donate money to keep freshman football alive in the city area. And they need to be commended. When you do something right, you deserve to be given credit for it. And I give the Chargers a lot of credit because freshman football is really important.
Eicher looks over the middle, has a receiver, and a great grab over the middle as he got hit. And we talked about the Chargers. And every week they do a Coach of the Week. So, I mean, they're involved every week at some level at the high school level.
No, and I give them a lot of credit for that. I mean, they don't have to do that. They want to do it. And, I knew Mr. Spanos. I knew Alex Spanos. And, he was a tough, hard-nosed guy. But he also...
It's a tough business.
Yeah, but he also appreciated athletics. And, I don't think he was much of a football player. I think he was a pretty good diver. In his day, he was a diver.
Right.
But I'm glad they're continuing to support the great athletes here in San Diego.
And Eicher still in the game. Looks right. Passes back. It looked like a double pass. And that South defense once again gets to the running back, Ta'ua, before he can pass it.
Sebastian Valdez on the tackle.
Bo, that was the trickery I was talking about. The problem was Desmond didn't have the opportunity to throw the ball. They closed in on him too quickly.
33-yard line.
Yeah, we talked about that during the halftime. We didn't see too much trickery in that first half, but this is about a time in the game where players are starting to get in the groove, and you want to see that at the all-star level is those trickery plays.
Well, especially when you're the North right now and you've got a 17-7 lead and the third quarter's winding down. This is a good part of the field to try a little gimmick play.
Brings up a 2nd and long. Eicher fakes the handoff, gets it out to Smith in the flats, and gets tackled inside the 30. Gets to the original line of scrimmage to bring up a 3rd and 10. So things starting to open up for the North right now on offense.
Yeah, they're hitting them with a lot of different things. They're running different quarterbacks in there. When they run in different quarterbacks, that means they're going to different packages. And, really for an all-star game, I think both teams have done a great job at getting players on and off the field without a lot of problems. You only have 8 practices. I mean, it's pretty good.
And with colleges coming in, checking out players, home visits, PPR gala, there's a lot of things that are happening postseason that make it difficult for these players to make it out. Eicher throws it up off the right side. Is it brought in? It's a catch inside the 10. Looks like Brent Lawson again from Vista.
Well, Brett Lawson's going to have something to put on his highlight reel, and I'll tell you, Marshall Eicher is as well. I mean, that ball by Eicher, you're not going to throw a ball better than he just threw that one.
Brent Lawson went one-on-one with number 23. That's Angel Nava Esparza out of Central, the undersized corner, as Lawson used his size well to fend off the defender and bring it in for a big play.
I want to talk about those kids for Central here. You mentioned Esparza. We talked about Osuna earlier. They had 8 practices. Those kids made all 8 practices.
That is the word,
120 miles one way, 120 miles the other way, go to school, get in the car, come back. They're going back and forth, and they give their parents a lot of credit for driving them back and forth.
And that's a fake handoff. Trevor Youngman inside the 5, touchdown, as the San Pasqual quarterback gets in on the scoring barrage for the North.
I'm glad Youngman had some success. He had that fumble earlier in the game, and then they had one where he got knocked for a loss. He hadn't had a lot of opportunities. He had a great senior year. Glad that he can tell his grandkids and kids someday that he scored a touchdown in the Alex Spanos All-Star game. These are memories that this is why you play, or for games like this. I mean, you've had a great year, you're all-league, you're all-CIF guy, or you're a player of the year or whatever, you win a league championship, but you remember these games for the rest of your life.
And Mata, after the 38-yard field goal, drills the extra point, and the North keeps increasing that lead, now up 17, 24-7. With 1:47 remaining in the third.
Well, we'll see what Charles James, the head coach at San Diego High, has in his bag of tricks. He's going to have to open that playbook up a little bit. Might as well, hey, you can't save anything now, man. Pull out every gimmick play known to mankind here.
We've seen a couple of things work well for the South on offense. They have great receivers on the outside. You just want to see them, give them opportunities, and that North defense has been bringing the pressure from every direction, not allowing those South quarterbacks enough time to really throw it that deep.
This is a nice venue here at Mesa College. Now, Olympian Stadium, I don't know if they still call that. They've changed the name a few times, but the home of the Olympians, let's put it that way.
How will the South respond down 17? They have the players to do that. Can they put it together? 1:47 remaining in the third. The South has had a couple nice returns on kickoff. As this nice boot caught inside the 5. Looks like Ron Van again crosses the 25, gets to the 28, and that's where the South will start their possession.
Well, let's see what the South can get going right now. You know, I was talking to some people from the South. They felt pretty good about going into this ball game tonight, and right now it's been pretty much all North.
North have won the last 4 games in this Spanos Classic. Looks like Delshawn Traylor will come in as quarterback. When the South was moving the ball well, it was Traylor that helped them.
You know, both last couple of years because, you know, Helix was always playing in big games, and I had their game earlier this year when they beat Cathedral, real early in the year, and then, of course, we had their championship game. I call Delshawn Traylor the problem solver for Robbie Owens over there at Helix. Wherever they had a problem, whether quarterback or running back, after Noah went down, they could plug this guy in anywhere. This kid's a tremendous athlete.
Spin move in the backfield, dumps it off near side. Look like Kyle Simpson, or no, make that Rashad Griffin of Scripps Ranch, his first grab of the day. We'll call it 5 to bring up a 2nd and 5.
And, you know, the other thing about Delshawn, I mean, he was their starting corner, starting safety.
He did everything.
Where they ever had a problem, they stuck him in. And I'm really excited about watching his career progress as he goes to Army, play for Jeff Munkin. And, you know, I was watching, I always watch the Army-Navy game. I mean, the world comes to a stop every year at 12 o'clock when they play that game. And today, Navy and Malcolm Perry had a big day, over 300 yards rushing. But, you know, I'm looking at Army, and I would think that Delshawn Traylor can go in there and compete fairly early in his career.
And another legal substitution as Watson plows through a defender. Kyle Simpson came on late. And unfortunately, that doesn't work in an all-star game with 1:30 remaining. They called a false start.
You know, in the fourth quarter, Mr. Rudy's going to be in here.
Mr.
Rudy's fired up. He's fired up. We were down on the sidelines earlier. He was doing jumping jacks.
I wouldn't expect anything
stretching out
different.
his hamstrings. He's ready for the fourth quarter.
Wouldn't expect anything different from Paul.
You know, he was a pretty good high school football player. I know he doesn't brag about it.
That's what I hear.
No, he was pretty good. He was pretty good. Back in Wisconsin.
2nd and 10 from the 27.
He never talks about that, but him and I have gotten into a couple of conversations over the years, and he had a pretty nice high school football career.
Traylor looks right. Tries to get out of a tackle, does, but throws it up, and that's intercepted near side. Looks like by number 25, Dylan Quinn of Carlsbad. And Carlsbad, that defense, D1, just big-time defense. Dylan Quinn was one of those guys that was a staple.
Well, no question about it. Those 3 linebackers at Carlsbad this year, I don't know if there was a better threesome in the county, and Dylan Quinn coming up with a big play right there. You know, I thought I was watching Kyle Vassaw down there earlier tonight. He's another guy that I don't know how heavily he's being recruited, but if he's not being, somebody's not looking enough at tape on him.
Vassaw had over 100 tackles, 8 sacks on the season, was really the anchor of that defense. We've seen 2 errant passes under pressure by the South quarterbacks, and both resulting in big interceptions by the North.
Well, the unfortunate thing that time, the receivers, because they haven't worked together, they didn't work back towards their quarterback. They just kind of got lost in their routes.
Osuna rolls right, and a great defensive play on the outside knocks it away with 1:12 remaining in the third. You almost think the South really needs to make a stop right here, down 17.
Well, they need a turnover. They'd love to have a pick 6 to kind of get back into this thing. I mean, let's face it, right now, the North punches this one in. Everybody's playing for pride in that fourth quarter. And then they can start exchanging decals for their helmets. Huh? This is a great game. I mean, I'm so excited. I love coming to this game every year because we got so much talent in San Diego and all the different sports, male and female sports. But, football's kingpin, and it always will be, I think.
And that's Osuna. Quick hit to the right to Ta'ua from Vista. Gets upfield, gains a couple.
Noah Vela.
Make that Noah Vela
John Carroll
of Carlsbad. Vela was one of those guys who didn't start the season due to injury. But when he was in there averaging more than 20 yards a reception, big-time receiver out at Carlsbad.
No question about it. Noah Vela, I did a game this year against Torrey Pines, and he was unbelievable. Running the football and catching the ball. I mean, he did a little bit of everything. Carlsbad, I know they got beat in the championship game, but Thad McNeil did a great job. They had a lot of talent. Cole Wright, a tremendous wide receiver. I mean, they had talent all over the board.
And we have movement on both sides. Both teams pointing fingers as they should. The call is offsides by the defense. So a 3rd and 8 will turn into a 3rd and 3, as really at this point the playbook opens wide up.
Absolutely, and it wouldn't surprise me if they run Youngman in here again and run a little option with him.
It's going to be 3rd and 3. The ball just inside the 15-yard line.
Youngman may be in there a quarterback. I can't tell with those big offensive linemen around him. Yeah.
Number 8, Youngman, after the 5-yard touchdown run, is under snap. He'll fake the handoff off the right side, and it looks like he'll have just enough for the first down, so that offsides on defense for the South, biting them in the foot, creating a 3rd and short, bringing in Youngman. And they'll actually call him just short, it looks like, bringing up a 4th and 1.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's great that San Pasquale had a league championship. We've got a gentleman in the booth here, Mike Dolan, who took over for Bob Woodhouse. Both Coach Woodhouse, Mike Dolan had legendary careers in this county. They'll always be remembered. And Tony Corley, who coached with Coach Dolan for so many years, did a great job this year. And good to see the Golden Eagles back on top in the league, because they've had one of the great football programs since they really got that program started many years ago with a guy by the name of Gordon Marsh, who was their very first head coach, I believe.
John, thank you very much for joining us. It's unfortunate that the 3rd quarter has to end so quickly. Thank you really for your passion of high school sports and what you've done for this community. We've been very fortunate to have a guy like you over our airwaves.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for the nice compliment. Keep up the good work. Enjoyed seeing you on the PPR. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Rudy, because I know he's chomping at the bit to get in front of this microphone.
Paul Rudy, one of the most determined individuals when it comes to high school sports, and one of the busiest men you will ever see at the high school level. Paul, thank you for joining us.
I didn't think he would ever leave. I mean, you give Coach Quintero a microphone, and I thought he was going to cut into my time. I'm so grateful that you guys honored
the passion that he brings is evident.
You know, can I tell you the one thing cool about the coach? He has forgotten more about the San Diego sports scene than I will ever know. And yet, every time I talk to him, he treats me as if I deserve to be in the conversation.
Right.
He is a very humble and kind man. Most people would just say, "Hey, you don't belong here."
Right.
He's just that kind of guy. A big heart.
Well, and we were talking about that San Diego feel. You know, you get a guy like Reggie Bush. His record was broken by Lilian Noah. Big shout out to Noah. You rarely see that at the high school level, but it just goes to show kind of the family camaraderie here in the county.
Coolest thing that happened to me when I rolled in was I had to grab a couple hot dogs, and there were about 4 or 5 guys there, and they were talking about how they played in this game back in 1985, and they had to be, you know, maybe a little younger than me, but these are old men with children and maybe even grandchildren, and they were talking about the game like it was yesterday. It was such a big part of their life. They remember every down. They remember who was the MVP. They remember how the timeline of the scoring, and it speaks to the magic of high school athletics in general and football specifically, where it almost has like that combat veteran thing where you guys spent this short period of your life playing a sport, playing a game. Most of us played very poorly or played on a losing team,
Right.
and yet you still go back to that part of your life, and it's like Pearl Harbor survivors. You gather around and you talk the talk, talk the tales, and I think that's what's the magical thing about. We are only good looking and fast for a very brief period of
Enjoy
our life.
it while it lasts.
And it becomes the most important part of your life. You might go on to cure cancer, but boy, you'll never forget that game in 1978.
And Coach Sean Sovacool of LCC was a coach and player. He played in this game back in I think it was 2001, he said. And you get a guy like Coach Charles James who brings in not his staff, but other guys that he's coached against. David Dunn, the coach Tracy McNair out of Morris, bringing in city guys that, you talk about family. Those city teams and city coaches really.
And how about a typical the Cat? We're talking about the young athletes who are giving of their time, but how about the coaches? I mean, we're 11 days away from Christmas, and they're spending their what would be family time with these kids, helping them get ready for this game, and no one's getting rich. They're doing this out of the goodness of their heart and out of the importance of the game and the community. And God bless all of them involved and all the volunteers and everybody. I mean, Mike here, our PA announcer, drives in from Arizona to be the PA announcer of this game.
Right.
And you see all the old coaches, John Carroll's with you and whatnot. All these iconic coaches who are still supporting this game.
I'm a kid in a candy store.
Yeah, it makes you feel good. As we're watching the North pretty much put a nail in the coffin, if you will. And don't kid yourself. Man, this North versus South rivalry deal, it's very much alive. Because, the South was starting to make some headway in the head-to-head rivalry, and that did not sit well with the Northsiders.
Eicher rolls left, finds his receiver, gets tackled at the 1, and it's really the offense of this North side that has really opened up the game. Obviously, the defense creating some turnovers to put the offense in good positions, but it's the offense of this North side that has really put a dent in the South side right now.
It blows me away how you can play a pretty organized game with 8 practices, and get an offense. And you have to figure it defensively. You're going to be way ahead. The rule, it's a simpler game to go run and tackle someone with the ball than it is to schematically.
Easier to respond than create.
Yeah.
Like you do on offense.
And yet now it looks like the North has got their, everybody's running this read option, RPO offense, which just blows me away that kids are that sophisticated that they can. We could have never spread out like this at the height at a 3 wide receiver set. We didn't even have 3 wide receivers on the team.
Right.
We had 8 tight ends, and it just blows me away to see these the splits in the offensive line now are like collegiate NFL splits where. I mean, we were shoulder to shoulder back in the day. The flying wedge, the leather helmets.
Well, I mean, you talk about size. We have at least a handful of guys, 280 plus, 295, 300. Guys just seem to be a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger than they were, a decade or two ago.
No, absolutely. And then when you think that this is just a cross section of our talent, and all the blue chippers, they don't play in this game because they can't risk the injury and risk their scholarship. These guys are all vying for the next level of scholarships, and these guys are good. Then taking the kids who aren't playing, and you see how good everyone says, the PPR this, the PPR that. The reason why the PPR made it for so many years, high school football in San Diego is top notch. That's how we.
And the handoff up the gut. And the North side goes wild. I don't know who that was in the backfield. It was a big man, that is for sure. Number 50 of the North side. That's Noah Arce. Arce
from Mission Hills?
From Mission Hills, the 6'4", 265-pound back.
I think that's the nod to the refrigerator, having your big beef lineman be your short yard. You know, because at the high school level now and throughout football now, every offense is designed where everyone's accounted for one guy, and your back has to make that one guy miss. Well, that head-to-head collision we just witnessed, that was like 85 pounds difference between the tackler and the lineman running the ball.
And a bad snap, and the play will be called dead, as there's no rush on any type of field goal or extra point. It'd be no good. And 30-7 is the score. It's all North at this point.
So at this point in the game now, coaches are just going to make sure everybody who's been working out, or in the case of the kids from El Central that were driving in all that way, now it's just a matter of make sure everybody gets some playing time and gets some part. The outcome is pretty much decided. So with that said, can I pay a little tribute to our new South Bay Game of the Week correspondent who stepped in and delivered the goods like we knew he would, but without flinching. Only one 90-second question, and after that...
It only took one.
Bo, you served the PPR with great distinction, and we hope that you continue to make yourself available, because, boy, you took over for a legend in John Soderman in the South Bay, and you made sure that the South Bay flag was flied prominently. Your knowledge of the area, your knowledge of the team made the show better, and we're grateful for that.
Paul, one of the most sought-after emails is that end-of-the-year email.
Does anyone even read it?
Oh, I do, and I look forward to it. And what you said, I was very honored to know how you felt about me, because you are a man that lets your feelings known. You don't hide anything, so I was very appreciative of the words you put out there.
You know, I'll tell you what, this is the most fun I have, because these are the days when we are the furthest away about thinking about season 22, because as soon as the new year hits, it's about, okay, how do we make the show a little bit better? How do we make it a little bit different? How do we increase our social media footprint? How do we retain some talent? And the pressure slowly increases.
So many moving pieces.
Yes.
People just don't realize you were working 7 days a week. That I would get calls from you Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. What are you doing, Paul? You should be relaxing on the beach somewhere.
But you understand that's what it takes
right.
to feed that animal. You know, people on the inner circle of which you are understand that beast it's a monster that has to be fed every day.
You know, I'm not just saying this because you're standing next to me, but you are easily the hardest working person during football season. And there's a reason why the PPR is the best high school football show in the nation, hands down.
Well, it's not the thrill of great glory that motivates me. It's the fear of defeat and embarrassment. It's the saddest thing that happens as you get older. You don't live you stop playing offense and you start playing defense, and you just I don't want to see that show, at least on my watch, ever be, say, oh, they don't have it anymore. They lost their fastball. Because I want to keep trying to make that show better.
Well, just like a pitcher losing his fastball, he finds different ways of striking batters out, and you've done that.
Well, Lord knows. I mean, I got with the guys like Brandon Stone and all these people that have contributed. They're making up for my fading faculties.
And a pass unsuccessful to Ron Van.
As at Madison Edgewood, we often found ourselves in the fourth quarter down by a margin similar to this, and finding a way to play for that one play or that one moment in time where you can remember, hey, we executed this off-tackle play. That's what these kids are playing for now on the south side. Just a pride-saving moments.
And a 2nd and 10 for the south side. Handoff up the middle will gain 4. And we talk about athletes, and one of the biggest talked about stories for the Prep Pixie Report was which employee was the best athlete, and I'm letting you know now that is my goal over the next 9 months, is to become the best athlete, as we had a lot of great athletes.
Yes, we
on
did.
The staff.
And boy, an innocent little remark set off a firestorm amongst the PPR
You did not
ranking.
see that coming, did you?
No, I mean, I got a call from Casey McKinnon like, hey, I played D1 lacrosse. I was the CIF lacrosse player of the year in our section. How is it that who did I say? I can't remember. Ashley Washburn, who happened Jose Martinez is putting on this production, who was a ranger saw combat on multiple tours. And got defeated one-on-one by Ashley Washburn. And that's how I made the remark. I
That
thought
probably had to be one of his lowest moments.
Yeah, I saw her destroy him on the basketball court, so I gave her a little tip of the cap.
We talked about when Coach John Quintero was here, and just the Chargers still being a part of this community. It definitely serves well for the high school sports.
Yeah, the Bolts are in a tough spot in that this game bears Alex Spanos' name, and they want to support it. And at the same time, I guarantee that the Chargers and the Spanos family are well aware that their name now represents a double-edged sword in this community. And yet, with that, knowing that, they put feelings aside because they want to support these kids in this community, at least as it relates to this game.
Right.
And I applaud them for that, because it would have been very easily for them to just say, hey, this is not our market anymore. And especially with the, can you imagine being Dean Spanos and having to look at Twitter and Facebook and just the vitriol that he has to encounter on a day-to-day basis as he relates to San Diego?
You have to put your pride at the door. You have to leave it outside.
Well, I mean, he's a bigger man than me, because I think I'd be one of those people that just say, stuff it. Business is business.
And the turnover on downs gives the north side a great opportunity inside the 25 with 7:45 and counting.
Oh, that was nice.
And that's David Flores of Vista. 6 foot, 240-pound back. That's a big boy.
There is your, in the contemporary game, the fullback type athlete is almost obsolete. And yet, boy, a college program looking for a tough short yards runner, that's who I'd be looking at.
Right. Over 1,700 rushing yards on the season. Eclipsed that mark along with his comrade, Ta'ua.
They had that nice little three-headed monster on offense there.
De Niro Osuna out of central under snap. Tosses it to the left. That's Ta'ua. Finds a lane. Breaks a couple tackles. Gets inside the 10. And you go from power back to, quick running back.
Change of pace. And there's the classic example I was talking about, leaving the one safety or the one linebacker is unblocked, and if your athlete, if Joey carrying the ball is better than Joey trying to make the tackle, well, at the college level, you're going to gain yards.
And the gang of 17 brings up a 1st and goal from the 7-yard line. North looking to continue their success on offense, and this game has definitely gotten away from the South here in the second half, as the North has scored 16 unanswered.
They're talking about ways to maybe tweak this rivalry, and one of the ideas being floated is to, instead of making it a north-south game with boundaries, having a draft.
Right.
Having the two coaches, and look, God, if they ever were to do that, that would be the greatest TV spectacle, because it'd be like gym class back in the day, where and obviously there's some logistic issues because of where the kids have to practice.
That's the biggest issue.
But if they could make the two practice venues centrally located, well, then you're only talking about another half hour of drive time. And wow, how cool would it be if you could take these two rosters and sprinkle them together and emulate the NFL Pro Bowl.
Well, we do have 3 All-Star games postseason. SDFNL holds an All-Star game. The McCossie Bowl, that is San Diego versus Inland Empire. But the SDFNL do a draft-like roster where they get both coaches, bring them together. So it is interesting. It's more of I wouldn't say a B-League All-Star game, but none of these players are in that All-Star game. They're giving looks to guys that were unfortunately not successful, skillful enough.
Yeah, or maybe just missed in the recruiting process. And let's face it, that's what a lot of these games are about, is just giving these guys one more look. I guarantee you there's more than one college that's either watching this streaming service, or if they're perhaps even in attendance at the game. I talked to a couple of them on the sidelines who did not want to be named, so I don't know if we're out of a period here or right now or what. But
well, when you talk about the amount of talent when you have that much skill in one county, some guys are going to be overlooked.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, look at all the, I guess it's the first one that pops to my mind, but Jimmy Leonard played safety in the NFL for many years successfully for the Jets and elsewhere. He was a walk-on at the University of Wisconsin, so it happens. And I imagine that story is replicated at every major university throughout the land.
And Desmond Tu'ua of Vista punches one in from 2 yards out, increases the lead 37-7. Looks like with 6:30 remaining.
5:30.
Even better.
5:30. So getting back to that, I hope they explore that, because I think that would add a little excitement to the process, and it would be, there's just a few more prominent programs. The way they currently have it configured as the boundaries, there's just a few more bigger schools in the north. So the north is always going to have a slight advantage. Now the south has been competitive, or for periods of time when they've had a couple great schools. Because let's face it, you need numbers.
Right.
And
that's one of the things the South is battling right now. You know, having 3 programs, freshman, JV, and varsity. A lot of the South is running into the problem where now they've expanded east, and all the schools like Olympian, Otay Ranch, Modern Day are taking away from those numbers, and they're really having to battle that.
Absolutely. And I think, except for a few exceptions throughout the county, most programs would tell you they are down in numbers. You can judge the health of football by the number of freshmen and JV teams. And right now, for a variety of reasons, the sport has a participation issue. But I think over time, as they continue to try to make things safer, both by the rules and equipment, that maybe that can change. Because what you have to do is you have to convince mom and dad that it's going to be okay for little Joey to play football rather than soccer. Oh,
and we have a throwback. This is Simpson on the near side, North all over it. Nice tackle right there.
Yeah, you could hear that from the booth.
That was number 80, Blake Witzenberg of La Casa Canyon, the 6-foot, 170-pound defensive back. And, the South, as far as South teams go, there were some great storylines coming from the South. A team like Castle Park, who was 0-10 2 years ago, had to forfeit games last year because they didn't have enough players. Come out, go to the D5 championship game, lose by a field goal in the waning moments. A team like Montgomery, who has South coaches bred from that area.
Ironically, from Castle Park.
Taking them to a 9-1 record.
Yeah.
So
both those staffs were considered for Coach of the Year. I mean, Coach Livesay, what he did was nothing short of miraculous. And same thing with Montgomery. See kids staying in the neighborhood. I mean, Bo, it's one of the greatest joys I have of working on the Prep Picks Report is to see stars of the past now mentoring stars of the present to make a better generation going forward. It's the coolest thing to see the Marco Sampsons and the Freddie Dunkels and the list is endless of these kids who did great things in football and now have come back to their communities to teach or to coach.
And Livesay was also a South Bay guy.
Absolutely. We had, in the end, Robbie Owens and what he did, losing his best player in that 3-week period when they beat Cathedral when they were number 1 in the section, and then beat St. Augustine when they were number 1 in the section, and then beat Oak Christian in that back without, then lost Noah.
Right.
A lot of people say, man, Helix always has a lot of great talent.
It's because of their coaching staff.
That and what they did, I'm sorry, that just had to be acknowledged.
Right.
Because losing Noah, a lot of teams would have imploded. And
what do we do next?
Yeah.
Next man up.
Yeah. And he had a variety of weapons, because when you lose Noah, you lose 2 starters, because he's a hell of
he's a two-way player.
Yeah, he's a hell of a defensive player too. So, it was a big argument within the PPR hierarchy as to which program to acknowledge. Oh!
And almost broke it. Tackled just before he got to the 50-yard line. A great run right there. Looks like by number 22. Francisco Martinez, the running back out of Morris.
Now, see, there's a moment where that's going to stick in his brain, brainwaves for a long, long time.
Morris didn't have quite the season they did last year after they reached the D3 finals, and exactly, that's a moment that he'll be able to look back on.
He's going to say, hey, I busted one in front of a crowd at Mesa College in the Spanos game.
And a good crowd. There's a good crowd here for an all-star game, and that was one of the things where
12 days before Christmas, you'd done right, darn it. And now they're using the Morris offense. They're almost single wing, run the direct snap that Coach McNair made so popular at Morris.
That was DeAndre Patterson Fort of Lincoln, who's normally a linebacker, had 123 tackles, but this is the type of game where you show off skills that would otherwise be overlooked at during the regular season.
All right, same deal, same single wing lineup. I feel like I'm watching the movie with Brendan Fraser's School Ties. Little misdirection counterplay that fooled nobody.
Sam Scaife. Were you down on the sideline when Scaife caught that ball?
I'll tell you what, if that doesn't win Play of the Week on the All Sports Report, it better be in the Final Four. I'm told there was a great buzzer beater last night that Nick Polino and the KUSI Sports Photographer captured, but I'll tell you what, that was as good a catch as I've seen all year.
Scaife stretch.
Have you guys talked about Mikey Williams going off for 77 points?
We have not.
Oh, jeez.
The freshman out of San Ysidro.
Yeah. Put up 77 on Kearney last night. Holy moly.
Well, you talk about high school and now transitioning into basketball. ESPN3 was down here for a tournament at Montgomery, having some of the biggest teams in the country. You don't see that, especially at Montgomery, 5 minutes north of Mexico.
I know. I mean, that's something you'd see in L.A.
Right.
And I'm telling you, high school athletics. Now, eventually, we'll probably ruin it with all the attention we're giving to it, and when this NC2A rule goes through,
right.
And pretty soon we're going to have kids Mikey Williams' age endorsing products or signing shoe deals when they're a sophomore. That's coming.
It's now. How do you do with success?
Yeah, and we will find a way to pollute the waters. But in the meantime, let's just enjoy this for what it is.
Right.
Great young athletes who are going to. With the level of coaching they're getting both at the club level and at the high school level, their future is so darn bright. And we're going to be able to say 20 years from now, rocking in our wheelchair, saying, "Hey, remember when we saw that Francisco kid from Morris with that almost bust one, or Sam Scaife's incredible catch?"
And they're sticking with that Tracy McNair offense out of Morris. This is Xavion Watson.
Going back, throwing back.
And fumbles the ball. It's loose. Scooped up by the North. And a scoop and score. And it's just getting worse for the South. Looks like number 55, Trevor Hyde of La Costa Canyon, the 6'1", 210-pound defensive lineman. That is one he'll remember for the ages.
Trevor played on that team with Ozzie Nicholas, and all the hype and attention went to Ozzie, and Trevor, a pretty good player in his own right.
The LCC played in probably one of the most difficult leagues in the Avocado League. There was much debate on which league was better, Western or Avocado.
I think that was answered, though.
In the championship league,
yeah. What do you think?
With Oceanside winning D1, El Camino winning D2, and Oceanside beat a Western League team. So, quickly, these are all seniors on the field, but the best player out of San Diego this year was Tyler Buckner, a junior out of San Diego. That's
and for about half the year, he was not even going to be on the podium as the Player of the Year committee went back and forth, and then it just. It just became there was no way to ignore him. Yeah. I mean, because I kept thinking back to Reggie Bush and how good Reggie was as a junior, and this kid, what he was doing in some cases, against even better competition than Reggie played against, was too significant to overlook.
And the CIF also has their offensive and defensive player of the year, and it was too good to overlook. The CIF offensive player of the year was Tyler Buckner.
And defensively, they picked
They picked John Carroll out of Helix.
Who was on our all PPR team.
He was.
So that was an interesting choice. The kid that I thought got overlooked was a little bit was the kid from Carlsbad, that Vassal.
We've mentioned him a lot today.
Yeah, he
over 100 tackles on the season, 8 sacks.
Just I really watched him closely at the championship game at Southwestern. That kid's just a gritty. He was in on every play. Now sometimes it was a 5 or 6 yard gain, and I get that maybe the guys in front of him weren't as strong as some of the other defensive lines in the county, but just a gritty kid. Big beefy hands. He doesn't shy away from contact. That's the kind of kid you're looking for.
And we showed the MVP trophy during that last break. And with the score 44-7, I'd almost give the MVP trophy just to the defense or offense, however you want to look at it, of the north side. They've been dominant on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
And the ball caught at the 5. This is Ron Van Jr. of Bonita Vista. Crosses the 20 and gets brought down at the 24.
The crowd is slowly filing out as everyone wants to get out of here before it rains.
It's time to get our Christmas gifts.
Yes, the running clock, and I think that might be the last moment. Well, Bo, it was an honor to ride shotgun with you.
Yeah. It was fun. I'm glad we got to do it. Thank you to all of our guests. Coach John Quintero, Brandon Stone, a little bit of Chase Osborne, Jose Martinez got in on the action as well during halftime. And Paul Rudy, you are a busy man. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to bless us with your knowledge.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Bo, for the opportunity. But now I got to get to my truck before they lock me in.
Paul, thank you.
Bo, it was an honor.
Happy holidays.
Right back at you. I'll talk to you down the road. Okay?
Yes, sir. And I don't know if we're going to have a player interview. We will. Okay. So we're gonna bring him up. Is that the plan? Okay. So the final score, 44-7. The North dominant in this one. Congratulations to head coach Sean Sovakul. So good today as him and his LCC staff. Not a horrible season, but as mentioned, playing in one of the best leagues, the Avocado League, fell just short in playoffs. But a great moment for Sovakul as he has his quarterback Marshall Eicher have an impact in today's game. And we will wait for our player of the game. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. And we'll take a quick break here as we will find out who our player of the game is in this 30th annual Alex Spanos Classic. Stay tuned. Are they going to bring them up? Is that?
Ladies and gentlemen, again, we direct your attention near the midfield stripe for our presentation of awards. First, we have the MVP, the most valuable player for the Southern team tonight. A defensive back from Eastlake, number 7, Max Susi. Being presented the award by Joe Hines of the Sweetwater Union High School District. And now our presentation of the MVP for the Northern team will be presented by legendary coach John Carroll. Our MVP, a linebacker and tight end from Carlsbad, number 45, Kyle Bassow. Have a nice hand for both these fine athletes, Max Susi and Kyle Bassow. drive safely.
Great job, gentlemen. You did the best with what you had. It was difficult. Great job, though.
As you know, this is the hardest game to do.
Right. With all the new faces and new places, number changes. And
the numbers were
well, then half of these players are wearing their jerseys up to here to show their.
I couldn't tell an 8 from a 9 from a 6. Anyway, we got it done.
Yeah, no, I jumped on you guys' back a few times to get the big. Hello, and thank you for staying with us here at the Alex Spanos Classic in its 30th year. The North Side dominant in this one, winning 44-7 over the South. The score was 14-7 at the half, but the North Side was just too much in the end. Our players of the game from the South, cornerback from Eastlake, Max Suzy, with an interception in that first half, gives him the right to be considered our South player of the game. And for the North, Kyle Vassau of Carlsbad. We mentioned him a lot today, as Paul Rudy did as well. The linebacker / tight end was a big impact player in this one, and he's well deserving of the player of the game. We will have those players come up shortly after they say all their congratulations to the players. But a great game by both sides. The North was just a little bit better here tonight, to put it nicely. Congratulations once again to LCC head coach Sean Savakul, who played in this game back in 2001. And he said he was coaching this game to win. It's beyond the All-Stars, and really not because this team had a bad season, but you want to end the season on a good note, and it's just one of those ways where you can have a feel-good story at the end of the year.
Thank you. Have a good one. Have a good weekend.
And we're waiting for our players of the game, Max Suzy from Eastlake, our player of the game in the South, and our North player of the game, linebacker / tight end, Kyle Vassau. Vassau had over 100 tackles, 8 sacks on the season. Suzy had one of the best plays of 2019 as he was falling out of bounds and threw it back inbounds to his teammate Matthew Zaravia. It wasn't the best play of the season as Helix took that right. Delshawn Trailer, Keontae Scott had probably one of the better plays of the decade, throwing the ball back and forth on the last play of the half, and they scored on that one. If you haven't seen that, Helix really good all season, but that play was a small snippet of their overall season. Great talent all on the field as players are taking pictures with coaches and other players. This is a moment that they will never forget. One that they'll be able to tell their children about. And the passion and play of both sides was evident, but the North just too much as they won 44-7. We are still waiting for our players of the game here at Mesa College in San Diego, California. Two schools still remain. for the San Diego section, the San Diego section champions, La Jolla in D3 in the San Diego section, and El Camino, the D2 section champ. Once again, Max Suzy of the South, the cornerback out of Eastlake, our player of the game, and from the north, Kyle Vassau of Carlsbad, our north player of the game. They should be coming up shortly. Thank you for staying with us here on YouTube. As a big thanks to Paul Rudy, Coach John Quintera, Brandon Stone, Jose Martinez, Pablo Espinal, the San Diego High School Sports Association, and President Joe Hines for putting this event on here today. A great turnout on both sides. The stands here on the home side was packed. It's a great event with talent all over the field. The north just a little bit better here today. Once again, our players of the game, we're waiting on them. Our South player of the game, Eastlake's Max Suzy, and our North player of the game, out of Carlsbad, Kyle Vassau. Oh, you're good, man. You're good. All right. As soon as he gets here. Yep.
Thank you. No worries.
Thanks for your time, man. Happy holidays. What's up, Kyle? How you doing? Congratulations. Show the fans back at home after we switched cameras. It's a long track up this up the stands, huh?
Right up the stairs.
So this is actually, we'll work with this. Great All-Star game. Congratulations on the player of the game.
Thank you, sir.
What does it take to become a player of the game in the Alex Spanos Classic?
You know, it was a team effort for sure. You know, I'm super blessed to have received this award, but we all went out there and left it on the field. You know, a lot of those guys are going to go play the next level, but then there's those guys that aren't going to be able to play. But I know each and one of those players left it out there in the field, and I did the best I can. I'm glad it came out our way.
Carlsbad, you guys had a great season, fell short in the section championship game. Is this to end the season on this note? Is it a little better? Is it a little nicer to end it on this note?
We definitely accomplished a lot at Carlsbad, but it was nice to end with a W on my high school career. But some Helix guys on that team too, so it's good to get some revenge. They were a great team, but feels great. A lot of my friends on that team that we won. It's a great experience.
So what's next for you?
So in January, I'll be taking my official visit to BYU. I've not committed yet, but super excited about the next chapter.
What does it take to be a high school athlete? All the preparation, the dedication. I mean, it's hours and hours of preparation.
Totally. You know, I train all off season in the weight room with my team, and we all worked really hard. And Brett Swain is a great speed training. Speed's everything. And you know, it takes a team though. One player can be a great player, but if your whole team's not bought in, you can't accomplish anything. So I'm glad our whole team bought in. We did the best we could.
And what's this moment like, you know, looking at your jersey, Spanos Classic? That's a good feeling, obviously, coming from San Diego.
I'm blessed to, you know, have that experience to be a part of this, and it's a great event, you know. We did great tonight, and really appreciate being a part of it.
Congratulations on your success, Kyle. Best of luck to you at the next level.
Thank you, sir.
All right, that's Kyle Vassau of Carlsbad, and we're just waiting for Max Suzy. Happy holidays, man.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
See you guys.
Kyle Vassau is coming up shortly. Or Kyle Vassau is leaving. Max Suzy is coming up shortly here on YouTube. Max Suzy had an interception in the first half, one of the reasons why he was considered the South player of the game. And we're waiting on him. And we're going to go ahead and cut that. Max Suzy, just too much going on around the holidays, but congratulations to him, the cornerback out of Eastlake. Once again, thank you to all of our guests, Paul Rudy, John Quintera, Jose Martinez, Pablo Espinal, for putting on this broadcast. It is not easy running 4 camera sets. It's a big production, ran literally by 2 guys and 3 guys. Up at top, Connor held it down for the video up at top, giving you all the great footage and all the great action. For Bo Fertig, myself, thank you very much for tuning in. Until next season, enjoy the off season. Signing off, saying good night and happy holidays to you all. Goodbye.